Well, folks, this is Steve Sanson with the square table discussion for primary election on the Clark County Family Court judicial candidates. If anybody that doesn't know anything about veterans and politics, our mission is to educate, organize, and awaken our veterans and their families to select, support, intelligently vote for those candidates whom would help create a better world to protect ourselves from our own government and a culture of corruption, and to be the political voice for those and other groups who do not have one. For the folks that don't know, we already conducted our endorsement interviews for judicial candidates, and a lot of judicial candidates didn't show up because they were scared of a PAC. I know, it's very unfortunate that we have people that want to go on the bench and people that are on the bench already that is scared of threats made by a PAC. Well, since you guys won't show up to our endorsement interviews, we figured we'll have a roundtable discussion and bring it right to you to let the voters know exactly who these candidates are, so when they go to the voting booth, they could vote for the proper person. Again, my name is Steve Sanson. I'm a Marine, former soldier, president of Veterans in Politics, and we've been active with veterans in politics since 2004. And to my right, we have Jim Jonas. Jim Jonas, he's the with the auxiliary director, and he's Veterans in Politics host of our talk show. And then we have Michael Yepko. We call him Yepper because he talks a lot. And he's a former FBI agent, former cop, former private investigator, and former process server. And then to the right of Mike Yepko, we have Giano Amato, who is a bulldog. That's what we like to call him. You don't answer the questions correctly, he'll get in your face and say, hey, let me know what the question is. He's a litigant in the family court. His favorite judge is Matthew Harder, and it was very disappointing that Matthew Harder did not draw an opponent. That's because a lot of the candidates out there are scared, and I don't know why. To Giano's right, we have Frank Schweitzer.
It's changing.
He's a homegrown kid, and he's a litigant in family court. As a matter of fact, he was in Chuck Hoskins' courtroom originally when Chuck Hoskins was the presiding judge of a family court, and now he was in Bryce Duckworth's courtroom, and Frank got custody of his child. Had to go through a lot of red tape, but he did. To Frank's right, we have Steve Jonas. He's an IT rep, and he'll conduct surveillance on you. He's also an Air Force veteran, and you know, the Air Force only take the smart people, at least that's what they tell me. To Steve Jonas's right, we have Welty Silva, and she made the news a bunch of times. Her favorite judge is Judge Rena Hughes. Judge Hughes violated her constitutional right, conducted ex parte communication. Because of her case, Judge Hughes is facing judicial discipline by the commission, and then she appealed to the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court Justice, we're still waiting for your decision on the Judge Hughes case, by the way. To Welty Silva's right, we have Robert Madoff. Robert Madoff is a retired criminal psychologist, and he's been in and out the courtroom a bunch of times, testifying on behalf of different people. He knows the courtroom like the back of his hand. Don't mess with him. He's been here a lot of years, and he used to run the ice hockey program here in Nevada. And Mr. Madoff's favorite judge is none other than Sandra Pomerantz. And apparently Sandra Pomerantz have done some very unethical things in Mr. Madoff's case. And Mr. Madoff is one of the grandparents that was trying to get his grandchild. So now that you know the whole crew, we're going to, one at a time, go through each candidate in each race, and we're just going to discuss them, talk about them, and if we didn't endorse them, we're just going to recommend it's a recommendation, recommend who, if we would endorse anybody in that particular race, because we have to pick somebody. Somebody's going to be a judge. So we have to pick somebody. So that's the whole purpose of this, is to educate everybody out there and let them know who these candidates are. And by the time we're done, you should have a great understanding of who these candidates are. The first race we're going to go into is District Court Judge Family Division, Department A. Department A has Gail Nathan. Gail Nathan used to be, I'm going to let Frank talk about each candidate, and then we're going to discuss each candidate. But since I'm the moderator, I'm just going to go through what I know. That way it could get me out the way. Gail Nathan used to be a district court judge in family division, and Gail Nathan got ousted off the bench. She made one comment to a couple of her constituents, and she said that she doesn't need the Veterans in Politics endorsement because she has the incumbency. She has the power of incumbency. That means she has the power because she's already on the bench. And as you can see, Gail Nathan never became a judge again, and now she is running to become a judge again. And in that race also we have William Voy, and William Voy is the current incumbent with the Family Court Division. We have been in his courtroom numerous times and never had a problem in his courtroom. He has allowed us to come in there. He handles the juvenile and delinquency court. And as far as what I can see, he's done a good job. But there is some rumors that he put Cheryl Ann Weingate, is that Weingate?
Weingate, yeah.
Weingate into the race, and as far as what I found out is that Cheryl Ann is his sister-in-law. Yes, folks, his sister-in-law. So, it was a good political move if I was Judge Voy to put my sister-in-law into the race to make sure nobody else jumps into the race. I guess that's a good political move, but is it a good ethical? Is it ethical? Is it ethical for him to do that? And since Department A is Frank Switzer, and Frank Switzer did his homework on those three candidates. Frank, you take it away.
Thank you, Steve. So, as you said, Weingate just all of a sudden appeared in there. I couldn't find anything on her at all outside of the thing you mentioned being related to William Voy. But however, William, we've been in his courtroom multiple times. He seems pretty decent. And one of his main focuses is, as he stated, is we are not so much focused on the actual act that got these kids here to us, but the overall function and support system around them. I do like him, but my issue is it is the act that got them there. It's what the kid did. Yes, the support system around him may have helped influence those acts and those things that children might do, but personal accountability, no matter how old you are, after 5, you know not to touch the stove. So it's the act that got you there. But he does seem to hold the kids accountable when we're in the courtroom, and he has never kicked us out at all. And then with Gail running against him, everything I've seen about her since 2011, she's had 103 challenges, mostly from the divorced fathers group, Fathers' Rights. And she stated that the Fathers' Rights Divorce Group organization is basically like a terrorist organization against women. So she's already against fathers' rights. She's already against the organization. She thinks that they're terrorists because they come for fathers' rights and for their kids. And in 2012,
could I just stop you right there,
Yeah.
Frank, with that fathers' rights group?
Mm-hmm.
That was a group that was run by Ernest, what's his name?
Dick Casal.
Oh, and by the way, Nakia Bonds have joined us, and Nakia Bonds is also a litigant in family court, and her favorite judge is Rena G. Hughes, and the G stands for God because she acts like she's God on the bench. I'm sorry, Frank, but Ernest de Cassell?
Ernest de Cassell.
Okay, now there was Ernest de Cassell used to run a fathers' rights group.
Yeah.
And they did an undercover investigation, and they found out that Ernest was teaching men how to claim false domestic violence against women. And Ernest was encouraging men to claim false domestic violence against women so that men could end up with the child.
Yeah.
But again, it's illegal and it's unethical. But Gail Nathan exposed him, by the way.
Yeah.
She was one of the persons that helped expose him.
She was going against that. But I actually went to that group when my case first started, and they were of zero help to me at all. The dude told me, if you don't have a vagina, you're going to lose the case. I had the mother doing drugs. I had the child neglected. So they were of no help to me. I just found it interesting that she thought that because they're going for father's rights, that she called them a terrorist group. I'm like, I know some military people that deal with terrorists. That's not what this is. It might be unethical. There might be some things going on. But she's had over 66 changes and people asking to change her as a judge since 2012. And most of those come from fathers.
Right. And I was told by several attorneys when she was a judge that she is actually a man-hater. I don't know how true that is, but I just know that several attorneys that practice in family court told me she's a man-hater. And then we did our investigation and found out that a lot of the cases that the male didn't have the upper hand in her courtroom. Or it's not your courtroom, it's actually the people's courtroom, in the people's courtroom. And therefore, that was one of the reasons she got ousted off the bench.
Yeah, I can see that. And we've seen that in other courtrooms, that judges bring in their own biases from whatever thing they already have. But I just thought it was kind of interesting for her to compare a group to terrorists, especially when they're trying to go for father's rights. And you've seen it. You've seen mothers illegally say, oh, there's domestic abuse. I never report it for 15 years. So it's dirty all around. But it's just interesting to me that she would go the route of, this is a terrorist organization, father's rights, and this and that. And then, like I said, we've been in there with William Voy. I've never seen an issue with him. And then, like you said, with Wingate just being added, I couldn't find nothing on her at all. So I don't know if anybody else might have something on Wingate.
Before you say something, could you go see Mark and grab his shirt? Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know what you might have on Wingate or what she might have. But these are just some of the things that popped out on searching them, since none of them wanted to come in and interview and maybe clear the light on some of this stuff. Because like you always say, shine a light on this. Shine a light on all of it. And they had their opportunity. So now some of this stuff will be hearsay, and some of this stuff might be, third-party information, or you might not get the full story, like the whole terrorist organization thing. I didn't get the full story until you informed all of it. You know what I mean? And she had her opportunity to come here and clear that, and she chose not to. So to me, if this isn't what you're hiding and you're not cared about this, what are you hiding that you didn't want us to see in person? Is kind of my rounds about that.
Are you done with that race? That's a Department A.
Yeah, that's Department A. Like I said, I couldn't find anything on Wingate outside of the might be related to Voy, like you said.
Does anybody have anybody want to jump in and discuss Cheryl Ann Wingate, William Voy, or Gail Nathan? Nakia, you got something going on? What are you doing over there, girl?
She's got something on some Gail Nathan. So that's a woman's perspective now. So we'll see.
Well, Nakia Bonds has a comment on Gail Nathan, so we'll just see what she has to say.
All right.
There you go, ma'am.
Well, thank you. I think that Gail Nathan is a equal opportunity hater across the board. I have a friend who has dealt with her firsthand, and she's been in litigation for 7 years. Thank you. Biological mom and dad, and they have a woman who came in and claimed to be the mother and the father, and she's of no kin relationship with this child at all, but yet she has a married couple's child. No guardian ad litem or anything has ever been put in place by the court, and for 7 years. And it started with Gail Nathan. Actually, she started the corruption ball rolling on that case, and now it's been 7 years in the making. So I've talked to a lot of different families, and I haven't heard anything good about her at all. I personally don't know, because I've never dealt with her, but they put her on the scale with Rainey Hughes. They actually said she's worse than Rainey Hughes, which I don't know how that's possible, but but yeah.
Anybody have anything else? Nobody? Okay, so as far as what we heard in Department A, Family Court, who would we recommend out of the three?
I'd recommend Voy. He's done a good job every time we've stepped in there. He's never kicked us out. He's never been hostile to litigants. You know, and he tries to give families and kids a chance. You know, it might be some softball stuff here and there, but every time we've been in there, he's at least consistent in his rulings, and he's fair to the Constitution of what we are allowed to do in the courtroom. So I'd say,
and I see how he treats the kids, and he really tries not to get them all locked up. And he really does his best. So we're recommending Judge William Voy to maintain his seat on the bench for Family Court Division A. And Frank, you also have Family Court Division I as well. And in this race, we have SUNY Sonny Bailey, Yvette Chevalier Lopez, and Michelle Tobler. Is it Michelle?
Michelle Tobler, I think.
Okay. Well, let me just tell you what I know. SUNY Sonny Bailey, I remember that. How do we forget things, SUNY? Chuck Hoskins was the presiding judge in family court. SUNY Bailey was trying to get a hearing master's position, and Chuck Hoskins decided to go against the judge's vote. You know, he decided to go against the judge's vote because SUNY Bailey got the majority of the vote over Amy Mastins. And just because Amy Mastins was Chuck Hoskins' former law partner, Chuck Hoskins went against all the judges voted and put Amy Mastins into the hearing master's position. Soon after, years later, Chuck Hoskins decided to reaffirm his mistake and make SUNY Bailey a hearing master. So now SUNY Bailey is a current hearing master in the juvenile court. SUNY Bailey is a very nice person. I like her. But she did not show up for our endorsement interviews. She was one of the folks that was scared. And I don't know anything about Michelle Tobler, but I do know about Yvette Chevalier Lopez. Yvette Lopez was a family court judge at one particular time, and she lost her seat, and now she's trying to come back again. But go ahead, Frank, since those three belong to you as well.
Well, like you said, I couldn't find much on Michelle Tobler. She's a BYU graduate. She's not been in Vegas very long. Miss Lopez has been in Vegas a long, long time. And I can see why SUNY Bailey, or Sonny Bailey, as you like to call her, might be a little scared of showing up against PACS, because one of her biggest campaign donors is a work labor union. And it's kind of weird that she would have so much money coming in from them when she could never preside over a work union case if she was a family court judge. So it's a little interesting to me, and the person that she is backed by has a lot of cases in arbitration right now, and quite a few of them were to get minority janitorial services off the strip and to tell them that they needed to be union and have union training. Then when in arbitration doing these contract litigations that they would do, in arbitration they admitted that the union does not provide training for a janitorial service. So he had these companies join the union, pay their fees, pay their dues, then he ran them all out, and they were all minority unions. And he's been I guess you would say third party kind of told that he won't let certain people pay their union dues. And he told another person, you're too stupid to run as a union person. And he was talking to an Hispanic worker at the time. So that's where a lot of her money's coming from. And like I said, it's just weird to me that they would be backing a family court judge when, again, she would never preside over anything that they do because they're a work union. They're not family court.
She's a sitting judge right now?
I believe so. I believe Sonny is
She's a hearing master.
She's a hearing master, yeah.
She's a hearing master.
Attorney
Yeah.
too?
Yeah, she's an attorney.
right?
Yeah, all of them are
Right.
attorneys.
But
So,
she, I mean, she don't
we-
practice.
No, she's a hearing master.
Yeah, she's a hearing
full-time
master.
Okay.
In juvenile division of family.
Yeah, it's all juvenile. So it's like I said, it's weird that's campaign donations come that way from them.
And how long has she been in that position? Hearing master?
A few
Ooh,
years.
3, 4?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years.
Okay. And your guys have you guys observed
Yeah,
her at all?
we observe her as well. But
Yeah.
we also endorse Yvette Chevalier Lopez in that race.
Yeah, I believe Lopez got our endorsement. But yeah, we've been to Miss Bailey's courtroom a few times.
Okay. Well, okay. So let me explain why I'm asking these questions. Number one, like I don't want viewers or listeners or anybody at the table to think that like I'm overly biased one way or another. However, I typically, because it's what I do, and for work, is business. And one of the things that like we have an issue with right now is family court and the corruption that's occurring in family court. Yeah. And so the culture in family court needs to change. And the only way you change a culture is you have to unfreeze the current culture, build a new culture, and then refreeze the proper culture. So based on that, with her already being involved for that long, like I would just personally, even though I don't have any experience with her, I would just recommend not supporting her just for that based alone.
Makes sense. Keep the toxic culture away from what it's already growing. Yeah.
Yeah, but we wouldn't support her anyways because we endorse Yvette Chevalier in that race.
Right. Well, I'm kind of setting up for my.
Oh,
what I would say.
you have something to say, Rob?
No, not yet.
Oh.
And plus,
Why, you
I
wanna
haven't.
take the mic?
And plus, Steve, I haven't talked in a while, and you know me, I get edgy. If I don't talk within like 10 minutes, something's wrong.
Yeah. So like I said, I couldn't find anything on Tobler. Lopez, we've already endorsed, and that's all I could really find on Miss Bailey.
Does anybody else have any questions or any input for Department I? And we're already endorsed in this race, and Yvette Chevalier Lopez is the only family court candidate, or judicial candidate we have endorsed. And this one is an endorsement, so we already endorsed her. She came for an interview, and she was interviewed, and the panel liked her, and she's endorsed. So we're just going to move forward with Department J. And in Department J, we have D. Butler, we have Rena G. Hughes, and we have Scott McDonald. Now, Rena Hughes should not be on the bench, period, at all. I don't even know how. I'm really upset when she ran against Ken Pollock, and how Ken Pollock had a health condition that caused Rena Hughes to just walk on the bench and get the bench. Matter of fact, rumor says Chuck Hoskins put Rena Hughes into the race to take Ken Pollock out of the race because Ken Pollock, he doesn't like to award attorney's fees to the opposing party. I wonder why. He says if you hire an attorney, you should be responsible to pay for the attorney. It shouldn't be the other person's, the other party's responsibility to pay for that attorney. And I guess a lot of attorneys didn't like that. So they got Pollock off the bench, and they brought Rena Hughes, who's a terror to the bench. She has conducted ex parte communication. She has violated numerous constitutional rights. She thinks she's God gift to the bench. She's very arrogant. She's one of the most arrogant people I've ever seen on the bench. She's not humble at all. She doesn't have any children of her own. So how could she be compassionate or empathetic to anybody when she hasn't even had that life experience? And I think Rena Hughes, although she's trying her best to beat up on the male species now, but she's been beating up on women for years. I think she's a women hater. I think she hates women, in my own personal perspective. But I'm sure everybody else is going to have a chance to talk about Rena Hughes. And D. Butler is a public defender. I have nothing against D. Butler. I have nothing against Scott McDonald, although I don't really know Mr. McDonald. But Mickey Mouse would be better suited to take Rena Hughes off the bench. Anybody would be better suited. People, if you put Rena Hughes back on the bench, I don't have a family court case, and I'm just going to say this. You get what you deserve.
That's right.
So, Michael Yepko, Rena Hughes, Clark County District Court, Family Division Department J, between D. Butler, Rena G. Hughes, and Scott McDonald, that's yours.
Okay, Steve, thanks. Jim, thanks for inviting me to be here, and it's nice to see some new faces as well as other people I'm somewhat familiar with. So hopefully our friendship and association will continue to grow, and somehow you guys will tolerate me. I'm probably the least qualified person to sit on this square table because I really have never met any of these individuals. But I will say that every single thing that I'm about to say is a matter of public record. It's stuff I either found in newspaper morgues, on the internet, well, you name it. So nothing I'm saying is not out there for the public to find. And as Tom Cruise said as Jack Reacher, all it takes is somebody willing to dig. Start with, I'm sorry, trying to read my own writing here, Deidre D. Butler. She's currently a public defender in the Clark County Public Defender's Office. In one of her articles on Facebook. She's a Democrat, even though it's nonpartisan. She's an avid member of the NAACP, and she has been endorsed by Hispanics in politics. Now, and she's the only one I could find, I didn't really do more research, I should have, that she actually did participate with Chief Judge Linda Bell in a discussion on Veterans Treatment Court. So I hope everybody's holding on to their seat, because here's the bomb coming at you right now. 95% of her pictures on Facebook are with African Americans. If you're going to be a judge, you have to fairly evaluate everyone. Connected to that is, from the Urban Voice, there were people who were supporting her because she understands what is cultural competency. And according to another person, I don't remember the exact issue of the Urban Voice, well, if you don't have cultural competency, or if you do, it gives you perspective. Now, I'm in law enforcement. You know what my cultural competency is? I treat everybody the same. I've told Steve 100 times, I never took a swing at anybody or shot at anybody who didn't do that first. So I try to evaluate people based on their behavior. Now, no cop, no person, no judge is perfect. But I think we should expect them to hold at a higher standard if they're going to serve for 6 years at a minimum of $160,000 a year. Do the math. That's $1 million in 6 years. So there's the bomb with Miss Butler. She, that's really all I could find. The second person, oh boy, never met her, trying to be objective, but Rena Hughes. In the case that's on there, Silva versus Silva, back in 2018, I believe, is when this all came down on her for what happened, that she was sanctioned or reprimanded by the Nevada Commission on Judicial Discipline for violation of due process. She was said to be unfamiliar with the contempt of court laws, and she did not, and this is what I love, she did not give a reason for the contempt order or other orders that she has given. When I was a police officer, it's called probable cause. You had to list the reasons why you were arresting someone or not. So I don't buy that. Now, what's hilarious, if you go on one of the sites, she has a courtroom protocol. Read her protocol. She's an absolute hypocrite. She doesn't even follow her own rules. Now, I did watch several videos on her.
You know her rules?
Well, it was, you would be, let me think, you would be, what's the word? You would be compassionate and empathetic and show respect to the litigants. If a child's crying, that poor child is, 8, 9, 10, 12 years old. And they're sitting there, as you mentioned, ex parte, and there's all kinds of mistakes she's made. Do I expect people to be perfect? No. We expect them to be a little better than that. So I know we've already hammered her.
At least when they make a mistake, they should be a little bit more humble and say, right, look, I made a mistake. I'll try to fix it. But in Rena's case, she doesn't make mistakes because she is God. Well,
going back to my bureau experiences, we make mistakes as an FBI agent. And they would say it's better to ask for forgiveness than to ask for permission if you were going to do something which you thought would further your investigation and get toward an indictment and ultimate prosecution for some very serious, violent felony offenders. And believe me, there's lots of them out there. But they had told us too in Quantico in my training, the best thing you can do is to be candid and to accept your whatever it might be. You know, nobody wants to lose a job or a career, but you might be suspended. There might be, other things you have to go through, remedial training or something. But, again, you're dealing with human behavior. None of us are perfect. But I think to what you mentioned, Steve, is she's not willing to say, yes, I made a mistake. Sometimes swallow the ego, okay? We all have an ego. We all have an id, and we all have a superego. The id being our basis instincts and the superego being our conscience. So she's not willing to do that, and that shows me insight into her character or lack thereof. Now, for the last person, Mr. J. Scott McDonald, he's got 3 years way back when in prosecuting juvenile crime in the Clark County District Attorney's Office. He has 30 years private practice of family law to focus on divorce, custody, guardianship, financial reorganization, and estate planning. The only thing he said that I could find is he said, quote, "We need to find creative ways to help these people have an opportunity to have a fair day in family court," close quote. Well, okay, general statement, just like their billboards or their signs for election. It's all this mom, pop, and apple pie. To me, it's bullshit. You've got to get, sorry about that, Steve, you have to get beneath the surface. But I do like what he says. I feel I did watch an interview with all three of these people, and I do feel that he would be the best person for Department J.
Anybody else have anything on those three candidates, D. Butler, Rena G. Hughes, and Scott McDonald?
I just got a question for you, Steve. Going into Hughes' courtroom, how many times has she illegally told you that the courtroom is now a closed hearing without any proper filing of that to kick you out simply because you walked in with a Veterans in Politics shirt?
A lot of times. A lot of these judges or don't want their bad behaviors to be exposed. So that's why they seal cases and that's why they close hearings, because they don't want nobody to know that they're violating litigants' constitutional rights.
But that is illegal, correct?
Yes, it is
It's against
illegal.
their own NRS codes, correct?
Yes.
And if the cases were sealed, you wouldn't be able to get the videos, would you?
No.
But you've gotten the videos in almost 80% of the cases that she told you they were
Yes.
sealed in, correct?
So instead of 3 people watching live in the courtroom, 3,000 is watching on video. That makes a whole lot of sense to me.
So just to get just so that I get this correct. So from the bench, she breaks the NRS codes.
Mm-hmm.
From the bench, she kicks you out of the courtroom and lies to you while under oath on the bench about a case being sealed.
Exactly.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was right.
Now, you're right about her.
Okay.
So I just have to say about my favorite person. The woman is, for one, she's very incompetent. I don't know how she is responsible for, picking a bag of apples, because she's moronic. She really is. Just in my case alone, for one, she's never had jurisdiction. So she acted outside of her jurisdiction, never having it. She struck every document I turned in, all of them. She's now gone to hiding records on the record. They're gone. She has them sealed. Now, there's no sealing orders. I was never there. She had ex parte communications with the other party. No facts or findings. She's a liar. Perjured herself time and time again on the bench. Intrinsic and extrinsic fraud in her courtroom.
Let me stop you right there. Well, the Judicial Discipline Commission already deemed her to be somebody that's no knowledge of the law and somebody that's a liar.
That's right. They said she's not trustworthy at all.
So those are the people we're going to put on the bench. A liar and not trustworthy.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, she's vile. She really is. I think that she's sadistic in a way with what she does with these families, and only when backed into a corner she'll pretend that she's trying to do better. But her being on the bench, they're just letting her be a better criminal because she's getting better at hiding things. What she's done in my case, it's appalling. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, forged CPS records that are nowhere to be found. Just a lot of stuff that should not be there, but it is. And that's what she's done. I really don't want to go into too much of it because I'm up at the Supreme Court right now, and I put some motions in on her, and they haven't kicked them down to the Court of Appeals. They've kept it. So whatever she's done, it's really bad. I've exposed a lot of stuff, but a lot of constitutional right violations, a lot of due process violations, not fair at all, at all. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. First of all, I want to qualify something to the listeners and the people that will be watching this video later on. First of all, there's 9 of us here. Most of us have had interaction in family court. There was an article in the Las Vegas Review-Journal, November 19th, 2019, and I think the listeners and the people that view this video, these people that have been in front of Rena Hughes, Nakia, and Wealthy Silva, they're not angry at the decision. This is exactly what happened. There's no extreme bias, because in the article of the Review-Journal, and they did a qualification of the judges. Rena Hughes was the 3rd last judge. Her retention score was 42%. There was only 2 other family court judges that they wanted that had less of a retainer score, and her summary score was 3.2, which is extremely low. Here's the kicker: this survey was done by attorneys, her peer group. So if her peer group feels this way, how do you feel the litigants feel when their children are just collateral damage over the course of that trial? These are attorneys that gave her a low score, not the 9 of us here.
She handed my son over to a complete stranger. He was never involved. And after 6 weeks of him being involved, and my son was 6 years old, the first time I went into court, now mind you, there had been several hearings before this. I had no idea, because not only did she not, I received no documents from the court. And when I proved that I did not receive documents and that they were actually being sent to the wrong address on purpose, because in the other attorney's paperwork, they had my proper address, she sent me a big folder for the very first time. I think it was in May. And not even in March, because my first hearing was in March, but in May, a bulk folder sent pre-sort, which is the slowest possible way that you can get mail, because it has to get so many pieces, and then it has to be pre-sorted, and then it sends out. That's the way she sent all of my things. And the reason why she did that was because she didn't want me to be able to appeal, because she takes advantage of pro se litigants. I remember the first time in court, I said, "Can I appeal this decision?" And she kind of smirked, and she said, "You can try." And I didn't get those documents months later. And then she tries to operate on minute orders as well. She doesn't like to sign or reduce or put anything in writing and file it to the record. She plays this game where she wants to operate in minute orders. She's incompetent.
Well, I think she's incompetent on purpose.
Yeah. Because she's a criminal.
There's a difference between a mistake.
Right.
And she's a criminal.
She's a complete criminal.
It's just horrifying, the amount of children's lives that she's put in danger. That's what I see. That is the scariest thing.
Right.
The children that are in danger because of her incompetence.
Right. How do you let someone move
criminal
and leave
activity
state with no facts or findings, no conclusions of law, and not only that, with no job or even schooling? You just let somebody pick up and leave? And gave the order from the bench. Didn't even have it in writing, because she would literally take and wait 6 months before she would even put anything into an order. And, just ridiculous. She vacated every one of my hearings, did away with all my evidence, and then lies.
Yeah, so then you're stuck.
Right, and then lies in the record. My record on appeal is completely sealed at the district court. Now you can see it at the Supreme Court, so why is it sealed at the district court? I've been fighting with the clerks now for 4 or 5 days.
Wealthy, you have anything?
Well,
Because it was your case that got her to be in front of Judicial Discipline Commission.
Since my case went public, I would say at least 40, probably more than 40 at this point, other litigants that had Rena Hughes came to me, through Facebook or some way they found me and said, "Oh my God, I have the same judge, and here's what's going on with my case." And it was all the same. It was the children were being put in the absolute worst possible scenario every time. And a lot of times you did see attorneys that were representing, one party, and you will see the connection with Rena and those attorneys. And, I went to the FBI with a lot of this information. So
I did too. I
They,
went to the
they
FBI.
have a long list of these people. I would like
Yeah,
for them to
she
do
operates with these false TPOs too. She put this false TPO on me. Me and Dad didn't even have contact at all, so I don't know how he ended up with a TPO. But every time I was supposed to have a hearing for it, she would vacate it. And then she would say that it was talked about. No, it wasn't. It was never talked about, ever. But conveniently in her final order, that's nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. But it was, she made a huge deal about that. She's a criminal. She's a criminal. The woman needs to be in prison.
So we established that no Rena Hughes.
No, absolutely not.
Anybody else has anything about this particular race? Department J? But you know what? In my hearts and hearts, I don't believe. I believe Rena Hughes is going to lose her seat. I hope she loses it in the primary to stop the bleeding very quickly. But since Veterans in Politics has been exposing Rena Hughes for some time now, and we helped get her in front of Judicial Discipline Commission, Wealthy? And now she's in front of the Supreme Court. And she's been exposed for the criminal that she is. If D. Butler and Scott McDonald wins this, since we already did the opposition research, you're welcome. You could thank Veterans in Politics for making you a judge. You're welcome. And you campaign manager, it wasn't you. It was us. You're welcome too. Okay? So don't get it twisted. So who would we recommend between D. Butler and Scott McDonald? Who would we recommend?
Thanks, Jim. Well, great comments, you guys and gals. Again, you have more direct experience than I'd ever want to try to endure, so you have my blessings, and, hopefully you continue the fight. Steve, I didn't want to start off with the bomb with Miss Butler, but, you read this, and you have to read between the lines. She's not objective. You look at Mr. McDonald, 3 years as a juvenile prosecutor in the DA's office, and 30 years with those issues. Now, the ones that I had listed, he does other things, obviously. It's all across family law. But he came across as charismatic, honest, and he just seems like a professional. Again, I never met these people, but I would recommend it's J. Scott McDonald. Okay.
I'll second that.
Everybody good on that?
Okay.
So we're recommending Scott McDonald as judge for Department J. So moving right along, we're in Department M, District Court Judge, Family Division, Department M. In Department M, we have LYNN Hughes, and LYNN is a guy, by the way, right?
Right.
We have Robert Kurth, Amy M. What's that? Mastins, and Mandy McKellar. Mandy McKellar. Now, here it is, folks. Here it is. I know some of the people. LYNN Hughes, he ran for district court judge on some time ago. Robert Kurth is someone we probably call a perennial candidate. He has run many, many times. Robert is a good guy. I liked him, but Robert is influenced by other attorneys and judges, so that makes Robert weak. So, and if he's weak as an attorney appearing in front of a judge, he's going to be either just as weak or weaker being a judge or being a doggone Titarian and just think that his shit don't stink. So, I don't know. I wouldn't go it. Well, that's just my personal opinion, Robert. And Robert was a friend of mine, but I don't know what happened to him. He got weak. Amy Mastins, I have nothing really bad to say about her. All I know is that she was the one that Chuck Hoskins took over SUNY Bailey for the hearing master's position, and she used to be Chuck Hoskins' law partner. And I don't know about her being Chuck Hoskins' law partner, if that's either a good or a bad sign. Mindy McKellar is a child, and I'll tell you why. Because we were exposing the family court judge, and I really haven't talked to Mindy for anything because I really don't know her. But she flipped me off. She gave me the FU finger. So Mindy McKellar, Mandy McKellar, this is for you. This is what you gave me in the hallways of the family court, and I'm giving it right back to you for everybody to see. This is how you treated me. I don't know if that was your IQ or you're telling me I'm number one, but that was totally disrespectful, and you should not be a judge.
Steve, she's on the court watcher, so that explains
That
it all.
explains
And
what type
also-
of quality she
right,
is.
exactly. And for the record, Hoskins and Rainey Hughes, they had business dealings together.
Okay.
That's public record.
So Michael Yepko, you did Department M, and I don't want to steal your thunder, but I just want to bring it in for you.
No.
So you go ahead and you go through the
like I
candidates.
said, you guys have more insight and experience than I do in this particular area. I'm going to segue into two ideas before I talk about Department M, and I'll be quick, I promise, Jim. None of these people, the 7 that I did, Department J and Department M, completed Ballotpedia, which is the candidate connection survey. Those questions are not softball questions. They are difficult. Not a single candidate, and I'm going to do this for our viewers and our listeners, they did not fill that out. And I've looked at a few candidates from a previous panel I was on, and I believe 2 other ones said they did it. No, they didn't. Okay, because Ballotpedia says on the site, this candidate has completed it. Because why? There are the 7 or 8 or 10 questions, and they answer them. Secondly, here's a question to ask viewers. Has any candidate, whether Department J, M, or A through Z, has any candidate successfully completed the National Judicial College prior to filing for this office? I mean, I read all these. I've been reading all day. I love to read, as I've said before. It's easy, so to speak, to go from a lawyer to a judge. It's hard to go from a judge to back to practicing law. We're not talking about ego. We're talking about salary. I don't know what we're talking about, but it's hard to do that psychologically. So any candidate, and I wouldn't expect them to do it because it would be out of their own pocket. I never met a poor attorney in my life, unless they were a complete imbecile, which they're out there too. Well, getting to Department M, let's go, first of all, Steve, to LYNN Hughes, and it is a man. He has been practicing law for 23 years, family law, probate, and guardianship matters. He is an original member of the Las Vegas organization called the Permanent Guardianship Committee. He's a pro tem hearing master, and he is a part-time judge. He's endorsed by the Nevada Veterans Association, and I've done some research on guardianship, and it's just like receivers. They're absolutely...
Oh, just a little side note for the Nevada Veterans Association.
Sure.
If you go to the Nevada Secretary of State, you would see the Nevada Veterans Association belongs to me, Jim, and Tom Bush. That organization was dissolved back in 2018 of December. And I waited till 2019, and nobody took it over. And then we took it over in 2020. And then a couple days later, they developed a Nevada Veterans Association PAC. Well, I got to tell you, Nevada Secretary of State corporation is over any PAC. So if anybody has the Nevada Veterans Association, get rid of it, because you didn't get it from us, and we own it.
Okay, Steve, I didn't know that, Steve. I appreciate that. Let me move on quickly to Mr. Robert Kurth, and I have to disclaim, or I don't know what the word is, I have to tell you about my dealings with him. As a licensed process server for 15 years, Mr. Kurth was one of my clients. And I'll try to be fair here and try not to be upset, but I was a small business, okay? Every dollar counts. He may have been, or is, an excellent advocate and an attorney. He was a terrible businessman. I did everything I could not to shave his face and pull his teeth to get my measly $200 or $300. That's 2 zeros, not 3 or 4 zeros, Mr. Kurth. So, but he is a district court arbitrator. He's an alternate child support hearing master. He's been practicing law for 28 years. And his big statement was, we don't have enough Nevada programs for mental health assistance. And that's sad, because that we know what a big part mental health plays in a lot of these cases. Amy Maston, 6.5 years ago, Steve, as you mentioned, she was appointed to the hearing master through her connections. She apparently is in charge of the domestic violence court. I don't know how you're in charge of that making a difference, because domestic violence can be everything from homicide to arguing with someone. And listeners should know that if the Metro or North Las Vegas or any law enforcement agency, my understanding, if they show up at your house, okay, it's like the fox going when the chicken is wounded. The fox comes, the chicken is crying for help, but the fox doesn't come to help. The police will arrest one or both parties. They're not there to help you. So, I don't know what you're doing, Amy, but good luck. She's been practicing law 23 years. Mandy McKelliher struck me as a little arrogant twit, if I can use that word to be nice. She's been licensed since 2007 as an attorney, and in 2011 she established her own family law practice. She is a district attorney contractor for juvenile delinquency and mental health cases. She has some mediation experience, but watching her on YouTube, I was less than impressed. So I think you have a way to go, Mandy. And that's all I have, Steve.
Anybody?
Yeah, I just have something to add. Unless anybody else has anything to add, and please, if you do, please do. I concur with Steve on Robert Kurth. We've known Robert for a number of years. He is a perennial candidate. Pretty disappointed in him being influenced by a PAC. We've done a lot for Robert over the years. He's also been a pretty good friend of ours as well. So I agree with Steve on Steve's assessment of Robert Kurth. I don't think he has much of a chance in the race. I wish him luck, but I would not endorse Robert Kurth. Lynn Hughes, I wouldn't endorse Lynn Hughes either. Just for anybody who has he spoke very highly of Richard Carrion. I'm going to keep it clean. Steve knows what I think of Richard Carrion. Mandy, she is a child. To be perfectly honest with you, unless anybody else has anything, I wouldn't recommend any of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. None of them. All bad.
Right.
And does anybody else have any addition to Department M, Family Court?
Okay, I agree with that assessment, Jim. I don't know the details like you guys do or gals do, but I don't think any of them really stood out. I mean, again, I'll emphasize, you can
Well, let me just stop you
Sure,
right there.
go ahead.
And I have to say this, regardless, one of these four is going to be a judge. One of them. Sure. So if all we know about them, who would we tell the voting public to vote for?
Well, Steve, I got a question for you.
I would go with Hughes. I would go with Lynn Hughes out of the four.
If that's what she's going with, but with you, who's going to be the strongest on the bench and the least likely to be influenced by something or someone else who doesn't have the children or the family's best interests at heart?
Okay, well, Robert Kurth is weak, so he's going to be
we got no
easily
nuts.
influenced.
Okay.
Mandy,
Keller.
McKellar, she's an infant child, and she's part of this Nevada Court Watchers PAC. So,
sign language, right?
So, and she knows sign language,
Yeah,
and she should take Braille, by the way. And she's going to be influenced by them. And Amy Mastins is probably going to be influenced by Chuck Hoskins if he stays on the bench. And Hoskins doesn't have a preliminary. He's in the general with Tom Kurth, Kurtz. So if I was going to recommend somebody, I would go with Lynn Hughes.
Yeah, I think so too.
And please don't mistake that for Rena Hughes.
Right, yeah. No, I agree with that. I mean, that whole Nevada Veterans Association thing is kind of odd one way or the other. So, I mean, I've dealt with him twice, and I didn't have anything really bad to say.
So by default, we're all saying
So
that
who would we pick? Who would we recommend? Because we can't endorse that. The endorsements are done. But who would we recommend? Who would we tell people go vote for in this department?
So basically, everybody at this table is saying the least likely to screw your life up or your court case up is going to be Lynn Hughes.
Yeah, I think he has enough experience as a family court practitioner. Steve, Jim, and the rest of us. I think that I just want to emphasize one thing. I remember a couple years ago the nightmare that I started to investigate on guardianship. And if you ever remember the story about April Parks, John Norham, Judge Hoskin, and others, there was no oversight, there was no review. It was the fox watching the hen house. And these morons, and by the way, April Parks and some other scumbags are in prison where they belong, they stole people blind. I think Hughes, of all of them, because he's on the guardianship committee and he's got the experience, he strikes me as pretty low-key. With the temperament is, I just feel he'll do the best job.
All right, so we're going to recommend Lynn Hughes for Family Court Division Department M. And Lynn, please stay away from that moron Richard Carrion. He serves no purpose. He's like crap on the ground and you accidentally just step on it and all you want to do is wipe it off as quickly as possible.
And
So-
Steve, remember, they got an opportunity to prove us wrong and be better judges than we thought they were, too.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to move along. We're going to go with District Court Judge, Family Division, Department P. And that was a very, who holds that seat right now?
I think Sandra Pomerantz.
Okay. So we have, I can't even see this. What was that, Sarah? Department P.
Yeah, I don't have it on there. Just on my
Who's that down there? Right down there.
That's who's running against Pomerantz?
No, Pomerantz is.
No, Pomerantz is that.
She's off, right? Is she retired or something?
Steve who?
Yeah, she's going to retire.
No, it's Steve.
Steve what? No, I know it's Steve. Who's this? Who's the candidate?
Oh, it's Sarah Diane.
So Sarah Diane, these small prints I can't read. I am getting up there in the age category. We have Fred Page and we have Mary Perry. Now, Sarah, I don't know too much about. I know Fred Page. He ran for district court judge once before, or maybe twice, but I think it's once. Mary Perry, on the other hand, is in my opinion, she crazy.
She's crazy and a criminal, and she's part of the court watchers as well.
She crazy. Let me tell you about Mary Perry. Now, Mary Perry, she tried to run for judge before, and then she couldn't hack that, so she tried to run again for Congress or some crazy thing. Congress, and now she's trying her hat in for a judge again for the family division. Mary Perry believes that men don't commit domestic violence. And so you women out there, do not vote for Mary Perry just because she's a female. She will go against you because she told me after I showed her photos of a female's neck scratched up and choked out, and I showed her photos, and she said that, and she know the ex-husband and the victim, and she said that those were self-inflicted marks.
So, Steve, you're saying felony strangulation is self-inflicting?
Yes, Mary Perry says that.
Oh, that's what she said.
And then Mary Perry will come back and say, you know what? I'm a victim of domestic violence. So I wouldn't say that. I'm a victim of Yeah, Mary, you have Stockholm Syndrome. I just told you, you're crazy. Okay?
And she's a thief. I know 4 families who she's taken their money and threw them under the bus in front of Raina Hughes.
So Mary Perry shouldn't be on any ballot, as far as I know. Mary, you need to go back to the woods and go chase a hog down and skin it or cut it or do whatever you want to do and put it on some type of log with some kerosene oil or something. But you should not be on the bench, Mary Perry. And with that said, Steve Jonas had this one. Steve?
All right. So I did actually find out quite a bit of information about Sarah Dayani, I guess.
Is your mic on?
Yeah, it's on. I'm not talking loud enough. I've always had that problem. So I was able to find quite a bit on Sarah Dayani. She's local, born and raised, went to Bonanza, graduated from UNLV. Didn't really have any bad reviews on Yelp or anything, but going into a little bit more, on Facebook, Dina Titus is one of her idols, so she's obviously politically leaning that way. She did attend the Veterans Village, though, so I thought that's why I asked you about it before. So on Ballotopedia, one of the things I thought interesting was the judges she looks up to. So she said the judges that she looks up to is Gloria O'Malley, Charles Hoskin, Jennifer Elliott, and Duckworth. So I just wanted to let the experts in the room know those are the people that she looks up to.
I know all of them.
Yeah.
Jennifer Elliott, I've known her for many years, very good judge, and she retired, although she's the one that caused me to really, really look at family court. When I put up the video of her and Jennifer Abrams going at it, and which I thought Abrams were very disrespectful in the courtroom and think that she ran the court, not the judge. And then Jennifer Elliott tried to get me to take down that video, then served me with an order to take down the video. And after speaking to many judges, I realized that Judge Elliott didn't have jurisdiction over me. And once they sealed the case after I put the video up, so you can't unring the bell. And at least I could say Judge Elliott realized that the order that she gave me was unconstitutional, and she corrected herself. Bryce Duckworth, although Frank liked Bryce, I don't like Bryce Duckworth because Bryce Duckworth is a piece of crap. Bryce Duckworth had a pre-written order to tell me that all the litigants that show up for court observer are disgruntled, which they are. You're taking their damn kids. That they're all pissed off, and I didn't get both sides of the story, which I do get both sides of the story, Mr. Duckworth. But you know what? I always did like Bryce Duckworth, even when he used to walk around as a little ducky, squeaking it when he was first running for the bench. And I even told Gloria O'Malley, which she used to be Gloria Sanchez, and she used to be the presiding judge in family court. Very good judge, very good judge. And too bad we lost her. And that Judge Duckworth should be the presiding judge. And I had a lot of respect for Judge Duckworth. But I found out Judge Duckworth is just one of those guys that brings his religion to the bench. And he's just one of those guys that sticks with the crooked, in my opinion, the crooked criminal attorneys in the family court. And you know who you are, Marshall Willick, in my opinion. So that's what I got to say about that as far as those people that she looks up to. Plus, Bryce Duckworth storms off the bench like a juvenile when he doesn't get his way. He storms off the bench, like in the middle of it. So.
Right. Okay. I'm not going to speak on Mary Perry. Well, actually, I will because this is my department. Graduated from UNLV. Obviously Republican. She's gotten an NFAA endorsement and endorsed by the Hispanic in Politics. Based on her Facebook information and posts that she's putting out there, she is a COVID denier, meaning that she doesn't believe COVID is as bad as what the experts are saying.
She doesn't believe in domestic violence either, so that's probably fitting.
Yeah. And then as far as Fred Page goes, there's not a lot out there. He didn't do Ballotopedia. There's not a lot of photos and stuff out there that I was able to get into. He is from Nebraska. I don't know if he was born in Nebraska, but he got his degree in Nebraska. He was part of Han, Page, and Sullivan law firm, obviously is one of the main ones. And they have a good Yelp score. Like everyone liked that law firm. So that's all I was able to find out about him.
There's no age or anything?
No, not for him. Sarah is 38, and then Mary is older. but
Anybody
I don't know
else
about
have
age.
anything want to jump on Department P? It's not Pomerantz, so don't need to get the mic. She's gone. Oh, you guys up?
Yeah, thanks very much for letting me have the mic, Steve. Yeah, first of all, for Department B, a manic P, as in Peter.
Peter.
The thing is that with anybody replacing Pomerantz would be an improvement. And I'm going to qualify something right now. I'm going to refer back to the Review Journal paper on November 19th, 2019. Not only do I personally feel, and I've got 30 years of experience in courtroom work, albeit not family court, thank God, she was voted the worst family court judge. And just a comment, her lack of intellectual capacity is astounding and should render her wholly unqualified self to sit on this bench. What an embarrassment to this court. I'm not going to go into detail regarding our specific case, but basically 6 months before my wife and myself.
You do understand she's not on the ballot.
I understand that. And the reason I'm saying this, Steve, is that since she has ruined thousands of lives, thousands of families since 2005, and using children as severe collateral damage, how many families and children she's destroyed is unimaginable. The thing is that she does have 5 to 6 months to sit on family court. Something should be done immediately before she gets a chance to destroy any more families and collateral damage of children. She has got to be the worst judge I have ever encountered in 30 years. She's a racist, as per the article in the Review Journal of June 2018 about a litigant, Miss Manda Mitchell, ordering Miss Mitchell, her mother, or the grandmother, and a little child, a 3-year-old, she ordered her to get the nappy hair removed. She's constitutionally not appropriate, and civil liberty she's taken away from numerous people. And I beg you people out there that are listening, she's got another 5 or 6 months to go in her term, and then thank God she's retiring. And she is not going to be a senior judge to damage and harm more families. We will do anything that we possibly can to have her removed. So what I'm asking right now for the listeners, attorneys, whatever, have this judge removed from the bench immediately before she causes any more serious damage to the children and their families.
Can I just say something really fast?
No.
So if you get a judge that you do not like, and it's before you file anything into the case, you can pay $450 for a preemptory challenge to get your judge changed. So just want to put that on the record. So if you read about these judges before you file anything into your case, I suggest doing your research on them. So therefore, there's an option for you not to have them at all with the preemptory challenge. That's $450.
Good advice. So anybody else have anything under Department P who's actually on the ballot?
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Steve, about Mary Perry. She does have a strange way of looking at domestic violence, because I had a conversation with her and she said the same thing, that she believes more men are abused than women ever. And I'm not saying that men aren't abused, they absolutely are, but come on, the statistics are just not that.
She's a father prone, she's father prone, and
Yeah.
yeah.
So, Steve.
So right away, Mary Perry would be a women hater, just to
Right.
let everybody know.
So that would be a bias. So, Steve.
So unfortunately, where I'm kind of having an issue with is, so with the first one, the Dayani, knowing a little bit more than Fred Page, I don't know as far as what I would personally recommend as an endorsement, because I got a lot of
No, this is not.
information.
This is just a recommendation.
I'm sorry. Recommendation, because I do know more about one than the other, and I don't know if I could actually recommend somebody I don't know that much about.
So
that
as a
makes
group,
it tough for me.
As a group for Department P and Family Court, who would we go with? Sarah Dayani, Fred Page, or I'm going to skin you, Mary Perry.
I'd go Fred Page.
Yeah, I kind of like Fred Page.
Fred Page.
I would say Fred Page, because she seems like she might be kind of young, doesn't have a lot of experience.
All right, Fred. We recommended Fred Page for Department P for Family Court. And moving right along, we got District Court Division. Man, this microphone just keeps going up to my lip. Yeah. We have District Court Division, Family Division, Department S. And we have Regina Gina McConnell, Vincent Ochoa, and Lisa M. Sykes. Now, I don't know Regina Gina McConnell. I don't think I know her, but a lot of people, they say they know me, but I don't know them. So, but I do know Vincent Ochoa. Now, Vincent Ochoa, we help get Vincent Ochoa elected. And I remember when we gave him the endorsement, it was when Ken Pollock over at the Country Golf Club across from the Family Court. And we always thought Vincent was a nice guy until he starts liking litigants on Facebook pages. And then he starts liking minor litigants on Facebook pages. And then everybody knows about his son that robbed the balloon place, stuck it up, got $78, something like that, at knife point. And the apple don't fall too far from the tree, as they say. Lisa Sykes.
And Vincent Ochoa, you forgot one other thing too.
What's that?
That he won't allow men to have custody of their kids overnight because they don't breastfeed.
Oh, that's true. Thank you for bringing that up. That's right. Yeah, he didn't allow men to have custody of their children because they don't breastfeed. I know we have the pump and we have all that stuff now, but
And you can freeze it, Steve.
and you can freeze it. And I guess it didn't matter to him because he brought his own personal bias to the bench. But with that said, Vincent Ochoa, it's just time for him to go. He's lazy. He doesn't read all the briefs. We caught him a couple times snoozing off on the bench. Yeah, Vin, you did snooze off on the bench.
And he's a pervert.
That was true. That was true when Jason Stoffel ran against you 6 years ago. We had pictures of you sleeping on the bench, Vincent Ochoa. Hey, Jason, don't forget we still got to talk about you too. But Jason Stoffel ran against Vincent Ochoa, and Jason Stoffel used to give me all kinds of police documents on Vincent Ochoa's son. At least he did tell me about where to go get them. So don't think Jason is a buddy of yours. He's not. He's a backstabber like a lot of these doggone people running for judge. So I would not recommend Vincent Ochoa. I think Vincent Ochoa is time to go. He did lose his guardianship gig that he had and went back over to domestic. And I know you didn't want to go leave the RJC, Vinny, and go back over to Bonanza and Pecos where family court is. Lisa Sykes, I've known her dad, Richard Sykes, for a long time, over 20 years. And Richard is a Marine Corps brother. So I have nothing bad to say about Lisa Sykes. And Lisa Sykes did help us out in our Valentine's Day ball presentation. So that's as far as I got with that. But you got Department S, Mr. Madoff. Why don't you tell us about it?
Okay. Thank you very much, Steve. First of all, the three judges that are running, Lisa Sykes, Vincent Ochoa, and Regina Michelle McConnell, or Michelle Regina McConnell. It's a two-person race between Vincent Ochoa and Lisa Sykes. Miss McConnell has numerous complaints against her for taking money and not doing any work. In a number of cases, she has responded to the litigants that have requested the money back, in all fairness. But there's been a number of complaints against her by litigants that they paid her X number of dollars, and then she said she wanted more, et cetera, et cetera. So that says it all right there. As far as Vincent Ochoa is, and I have personal experience with Vincent Ochoa, I appeared before him once, and he said, "What the hell's going on in your case? Why aren't you having the children?" And the next time we were supposed to appear before him, he never. I had a senior judge there. As far as personal life, I'm not that familiar with it. And with Lisa SZYC, as Steve said, she helped us out quite a bit. She's an excellent attorney. She has great family values, and like Steve said, I met her father, a hell of a nice guy, at the gala ball that we had in February, and she actually came to our rescue in terms of a speaker when we've had a number of prominent people back down because of pressures of veterans in politics. I was reaching for speaker. The ball was Saturday night. We originally had, I forgot the sheriff's name, Steve. Bill Young. We had Sheriff Bill Young committed. He committed to speak at the ball, and at the last second he pulled off, along with a couple of other issues. We were supposed to get a couple rooms from them and a couple $1,000. And on Friday night, Lisa SZYC did confirm to us, and that says a hell of a lot about this person. And I've been checking. She did a lot of criminal law. She's done some family law. And I personally believe she would make a good family court judge. She has everything. She has a background in it. She's understanding. She'll hear both sides. And we can take it from there.
Anybody else have anything about Department S?
I just have a quick question for you, Steve. Ochoa's son, did he ever receive charges for that felony attempted armed robbery with a deadly
Yeah, as a
weapon?
matter of fact, he was in Richard Scotty's courtroom. I don't know what ever took place with that, but they had numerous charges on him.
Yeah, but did any of them stick? Did he serve
Armed
actual
robbery
time?
was one of them because he had a knife.
Did it stick? Was there time served?
Don't know.
Was there anything?
I believe he has a drug problem, so they probably put him in a drug rehabilitation program. Who knows? But, when your daddy's the judge, a lot could happen.
That was my next question. Yeah. It's kind of funny that, other people can have drug problems, do armed robbery, and now they're doing 5 years. But these judges' children, they'll do rehab for 6 months.
Yeah, let's not get started on Matthew Harder because he's not even on the ballot, but that's another one. Nobody ran against him because y'all scared.
He needs to be booted.
He doesn't go to work, but y'all scared. But anyways, so Mr. Madoff, who would we recommend for Department S?
As I said, it's a choice between Lisa SZYC and Vincent Ochoa, and again, Miss McConnell, because of the reputation that she has in terms of securing money from litigants and then demanding more money. Although she has responded in a number of cases on Facebook to the litigants, I have to take a pass on this one.
All right, as a group, who would we recommend for Department S between Gina McConnell, Vincent Ochoa, or Lisa SZYC?
Lisa SZYC.
I'd say Lisa too. And again, just putting on the record, people, for Vincent Ochoa, not a good guy. He's an equal opportunity hater as well. He's kind of incompetent, lazy, like you said, but he's not fair, and he makes up his own rules. He plays in that TPO game where he puts TPOs on people without them even being in the court or even knowing about them. Same thing like Raina, his sister. Not really his sister, but might as well be.
Right.
But I know several people who are in front of him, and he does bad stuff too. So.
Okay. So Lisa SZYC, we're recommending, not endorsed, we're recommending you for Department S. So moving along, District Court Judge, Family Division, Department T, we have Nadine Cutler, and we have Jason Stoffel, and Gary. Oh my God, help me with that. Help me with that name.
Oh, God. Gemma, Nazarino, and Quillang. Quillang?
Okay, that long name I know nothing personal about, but I could talk about Nadine Cutler. Nadine Cutler, she helped me out one time on, I used to have another show on KLAV on AM, FM station called Eye on Nevada Politics, and Nadine Cutler used to be my guest co-host on that, and I appreciate her coming out and doing that. I believe her husband is works in a casino as a pit boss, at least it was back some time ago. I don't know if it is true right now, well, especially when COVID is going on. But let's talk about Jason Stoffel. Now, Jason Stoffel is a weak man. Jason, you're a weak man.
And he's garbage.
You're a weak man, Jason. Jason Stoffel, we were helping him out, although we didn't endorse his race when he ran against Vincent Ochoa. We were helping him out, trying to get Vincent Ochoa out by doing articles, and Jason was all for it. And all of a sudden, Jason went on the Marshall Willick bandwagon. Silly child, why did you do that, Jason? All of a sudden, Jason has no backbone. Jason used to come with me to a lot of the real MMAs. Jason used to love that. We used to get him tickets, and he used to be by ringside. He loved it, and all of a sudden, Jason went on the Marshall Willick bandwagon, and a veterans in politics hater for no reason, by the way. And Jason never even had a conversation with me and to say anything. He just went on the other side, and that's. I mean, Jason, I thought we were friends. I guess we're not friends. So Jason went on the other side, and 2 weeks later, or several weeks later, he became president of the Clark County Bar Association. Yes, Jason, you know where I'm going with this. And then banned me from showing up to meet the judges because the Clark County Bar Association was the one that was hosting the meet and judges event over in, what's that park? Symphony Park? What was it? Symphony Park. Yeah. Banned me and refunded my money from that so I can't show up at the meet of judges. Now, do I have any criminal charges against me or civil charges or stalking or anything like that? No, I have nothing. No judges filed any charges against me or stalking charges or anything. But Jason just decided that since he's the president of the Clark County Bar Association and he wants to suck up to Marshall Willick, he decided that he was going to ban me from showing up to this meeting judges. For that, Jason, you suck really, really, really bad, and you should not be a judge because you're just a weak-minded individual. So, Robert, you had Department T. So you want to talk about that? Oh, yeah. You got Department T, Robert. See? You didn't do it, did you, Robert?
Well, Steve, so a judge banned you from a public park.
No, attorney.
An attorney banned you from a public park in an event that you paid for,
yes.
And you had no criminal charges pending, no TPO, no
nothing.
Harassment, no felony, no nothing.
Just because they didn't like me. That was my crime.
So as
exposing corrupt family.
As an attorney, he banned you from a public place.
Yes.
So what do you think he'd do as a power of a judge?
Well, he's with the court watchers, and they would.
He's with the court watchers as well. He's a piece of crap. Jason Stoffel, you're a piece of crap. Just want to let you know.
It sounds like he's scared of you, Steve.
You got Department T. You're over there trying to bogart the mic, but you're not doing your homework.
I have to apologize for that. I'll have to check my email. But I can verify what... Thanks. I can verify what Steve said because I had a conversation when Mr. Sanson got banned from that event. And I phoned up and I got a ticket immediately. He said, I believe it was not for the public. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I phoned up after...
It's not for the public, but yet they were soliciting the public to buy tickets.
That's right. I recall that.
Makes sense to me.
But I was easily possibly getting a ticket for that after Steve and I spoke, and I said, you can't be denied entrance from a public event, especially Steve had already paid for the ticket and was accepted. And then he got an email stating that he was not welcome there. So I wanted to see if they were, just prejudicing and Steve on that. So I phoned up that afternoon, and I got a ticket. So they said that I can have a ticket, but not Steve. That's absolute bullshit, as far as I'm concerned.
You're a different kind of public, I guess.
Yeah. That's right.
So you're saying that you went to the public event. You got the
I didn't even bother going.
You got the ticket for the public event. That Steve couldn't go to the public event, even though he had no prior terroristic threats or TPOs against him.
Absolutely, that's exactly what happened.
That sounds like an abuse of power to me.
Sure. What do you want to do with T?
Just make a quick comment before we go on to the next one. The one with Gemma Equilang and the other two candidates. The Las Vegas Review-Journal does that judicial debates, and of course it's on YouTube or whatever channel. She did not show up. The Gemma Equilang, the other two candidates did, and I believe the next race T, it's the same thing. I think 2 of the 3 showed up. Again, if you can't handle the questions or you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Right, so by default.
So who would we recommend for Department T?
Go with the long name that you can't pronounce.
Well, no, they didn't show up.
Equilang didn't show up.
No, she didn't show up.
Wow.
No.
For the Free Review Journal debate, she didn't show up.
Yeah.
Although I did see Nadine Cutler's name on the NCW as well. I don't know if I don't think she's there to participate. I think that she's just there to observe, which, by the way, NCW, the reason why your numbers are so high, that's because there's a lot of veterans in politics members on the NCW. Just figure out who they are and come back and check with me. Assholes. But anyways, so who would we recommend for Department T? Since Robert didn't do his homework.
Cutler.
I would say Cutler too, because if someone can't show up and speak to the public about what they're going to be doing, just like the Ballotpedia, that's absurd. You want people to vote for you, but they don't know anything about you. Yeah. So just based off of that, if you can't go,
I don't know a ton. I don't know a ton about Cutler, but I have the name. I do know the name.
Well, why don't we do a little research on Nate on Department T?
We can come back to
come back to Department T.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. All right, so what's next?
All right, so we're gonna come back to T. So let's go with District Court Judge, Family Division, Department U. And folks, do understand that the legislators had 6 more additional seats for family court, and that's going to be added in next year in 2021. So a lot of these other departments are brand new. These are going to be the first time anybody sits in them. And I don't know why we needed 6 more family court seats. All we needed is people to show up to work, like Matthew Harder and Stephanie Miley, some of those judges to show up to work. And maybe we could reduce.
Not be in someone else's courtroom.
Yeah. And maybe not drag cases out for years and years and years. Maybe when the child is 6 months old, all of a sudden the child is turning 17 and the case is still in family court because nobody knows how to make a decision nowadays. But anyways, Department U is a brand new seat. So District Court Judge, Family Division, Department U. We have Marilyn, what's that, Caston?
Yeah, Caston.
I should have brought my reading glasses with me. And we have Bill Gonzalez, and we have Dawn Thorne. Now, Dawn Thorne, and I know Dawn Thorne, and because Dawn Thorne ran before, although she came before us, and we never endorsed her when she previously ran, not in this election, but in past election. But I saw her commercial, and it really struck me odd because she says in the commercial, she says, when you're a litigant in my courtroom, blah, 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 blah. I don't know the rest. But the thing that got me a little bit on edge is when she said my courtroom. Judges, this is not your courtroom. It's the people's courtroom. You don't pay lease on the courtroom. You don't have a lease contract. You don't pay a monthly mortgage. It's not your courtroom. You're just assigned to it because we, the voters, elected you to be there. It's the people's courtroom. All you are doing is observing and doing the people's work. It's not your courtroom. So Dawn Thorne, I just want to let you know, it's not, if you get this, it's not your courtroom. It's the people's courtroom. Now, Bill Gonzalez used to be a family court judge, and people got to ask themselves, why would somebody be a judge and then not be a judge anymore? That's because Bill Gonzalez got removed from the bench because Bill Gonzalez was the type of person that failure to know federal law. And one of the federal law is a Service Members Relief Act. And the Service Members Relief Act that says that any service member that's on orders out of the jurisdiction, the court's supposed to put a stay on their case. But Bill Gonzalez moved the case forward, and these are military veterans that was in Iraq, Afghanistan. Remember the war, Bill? Remember how you wanted them to still appear on Skype when they're in the battlefields of Afghanistan and Iraq? You still wanted them to participate in a family court hearing? Now, if I'm on the battlefield anywhere, you think I'm going to worry about a family court hearing? I'm just going to worry about trying to stay alive, Bill. Apparently, Bill never been in combat before, so he has no understanding of that, nor does he have any understanding of federal law that says you have to put a stay on the case when a member of the military is out of jurisdiction of the court. But Bill, that's a very huge law you have failed to recognize. And not only did you've done it twice, you've done it at least 12 different times. So this is not an isolated incident. And when Bill was running for re-election, I confronted Bill on this law, and he tried to play it off and try to lie about it. So not only did he fail to understand and practice federal law and make sure that federal law was followed through in his courtroom or the people's courtroom, he lied to me about it. So for that, I would not put Bill Gonzalez back on the bench again. But anyways, this is Giano's. Giano, you have Marilyn. What's that name again? Caston. I just cannot see these doggone things. And Bill Gonzalez and Dawn Thorne.
Steve, I just want to say one quick thing. You sure they're not leasing the bench?
And I want to say something about Marilyn real quick. Okay, so I don't know what you found on Marilyn Caston, but she was in cahoots with Rena Hughes in order to kidnap my daughter. So there's that.
So Giano, Department U is yours, brother.
All right, thanks, Steve. First of all, before we start, I have a few things to say, and I wrote it down just so I didn't forget. So what I'd like to state is, if you come after us when we're fighting corruptness in all forms, you are declaring war. So we will defend ourselves by all legal means necessary, and which our Constitution of the United States says we can. And those who stand up and back any corrupt official will also be known as more corrupt than the persons they are protecting. Also, if you choose to use children as hostages and weapons to pay back parents, all while the children are going to suffer irreversible damage, we will make sure that all citizens that search and look for corruption will find it and know about it when the proper time comes for your re-election. I am personally making sure that every person that is involved in corruptness and tries to blackmail, scare, lies, uses children as weapons, are playing out, don't know what the hell you are doing, like Judge Matthew Harder in Department N, who should not even be allowed within 5 miles of any family court in any state, and who should never even be allowed to tell people what to do with their animals, let alone their children. We will make sure to put you all out there front and center. All judges that might be exposed can thank that piece of shit, biased, corrupt Judge Matthew Harder for our future site/application that is being created that will show all corrupt officials and also all trustworthy officials to all humankind which wants to find the truth in a few clicks of a button when your elections come up. If you want to be elected, do your job, and do not, I repeat, do not use that bench as a sword and act like we're in North Korea. If you do, you will only create more fuel for the fire, which has now turned into a blaze that cannot and will never be turned out. We will also never use our site as a blackmail site, and all accusations must have proof before a post or video is uploaded. We will show all corrupt tactics used by corrupt officials to our communities so they will never be taken advantage of or trampled on like they have been for years. Thanks. So anyways, let's start. The first race was Department V, right?
No, Department U.
Department U. Okay. So first of all, we have Marilyn Caston. Some of the positive things that I found is she donates a lot of time to the legal aid of Southern Nevada. She was recognized for the last 3 years as a leading pro bono attorney, winning the 2017 Lewis Weiner Award. Seems very dedicated to helping out our community, and she's lived here for the last 29 years. She talks about families getting a fair shake, which I'm all for. And then she also talks about even, if the families are not able to pay for an attorney, they'll still get a fair shake. A lot of people say, that she's very charismatic. And then we have Dawn Throne. So they say she's one of the only 48 attorneys in the state of Nevada to be certified as a family law specialist. So that's good. She seems very dedicated to helping out our community. One of the negatives, and I don't know if it is a negative or not, but she's a former prosecutor. So not sure if this is a good fit switching over to a family court judge dealing with children, but I believe she's also a family court attorney. But I personally
just hope she doesn't try to lock everybody up for contempt of court being a former prosecutor now and turn a civil family court into a criminal court, which you're not even allowed a public defender, even if you can't afford an attorney to defend yourself.
Yeah, no, exactly. And, my problem with a former prosecutor is, what are they going to do? I just think that I could see her siding with one side or the other, and I don't think that would be a good fit.
I would think that she would be more objective, being a former prosecutor, being able to see both sides. I mean,
she would follow the laws.
Yeah, that's what I would think, because their standard would be different. Like Southern Nevada Legal Aid, Marshall Willis directly tied into that directly, and pretty much runs that. So anybody tied into that with him?
Well, I don't know, just real quick, I don't know if it applies to family court, but I know in a lot of the interviews that I've conducted over the years for judicial candidates, one of the questions that I always bring up is if they're a prosecutor or a defense attorney. And I always ask the prosecuting attorney, well, my perception would be that you'd be stricter and you'd be more, you wouldn't be as understanding or as lenient. And actually, one of several of the prosecuting attorneys that responded to that actually said, so this might still go to bias, though, Giano, is that they said, well, that's not necessarily always the case, because as a prosecutor, lots of times you're tougher on the prosecution because you know truly what their job is in order to prove their case. So maybe that still is bias, but sometimes you got to be kind of careful on being too hard on prosecutors on that one, though. That's just my 2 cents, though.
No, definitely, I understand. I guess I just think, if you were a prosecutor, how do you switch over from prosecuting the person, to defending them? You know what I mean? It's like you're playing both sides. That's the way I look at it.
Okay.
So, I mean, but then again, a lot of attorneys, you know, are former prosecutors, you know, so.
Okay.
Now, let me see what else I have on her. A lot of voters believe that Throne is the strongest candidate, and Gonzalez failed as a family court judge. They also stated that Marilyn Caston, was that her name?
Yeah.
Will give her a run for her money. So, now we have Bill Gonzalez, okay? Now the positives that I have with Bill Gonzalez, he used to be a voluntary judge for local high school mock programs, and you know, anybody that'll volunteer their time when they're not getting paid, I have a lot of respect for. He's assisted with pro bono work for years in Las Vegas. He's participated as a panel.
Hold on. Like us, we're volunteering our time. We're not getting
No,
paid.
exactly. Yeah. And well, that's why I respect it so much. Participated as a panel member on the Legal Aid of Southern Nevada. So I guess, you know, that's still volunteering, because I'm sure they didn't pay him. And then seems like
Bono attorneys do get paid. They just get paid a lesser rate at the legal aid.
yeah, no, definitely. But I guess it says participated as a panel member. So, I mean, I guess that's different. Seems like he does community service free of charge and really tries to help out the community. Seems like he would be the type of judge that we need in family court. So for me, I would recommend Gonzalez in this race. Does anybody have anything to say?
Anybody have anything else on that?
I have a couple things.
Sure.
So first of all, with legal aid, I have known so many people that have tried to get pro bono attorneys through legal aid, and all of them qualified, but they never got the attorney. None of them. And I myself tried to get an attorney through that 3 times. And every time I actually qualified all the check, right? No, I never got an attorney.
Well, that's because you didn't suck up to Barbara Buckley.
Oh, maybe that's why.
That's what you
maybe
needed to
that's
do.
why. Maybe that's what happened. So I'm just saying, like with Marilyn Caston, that was one of the things that she's, you know, in with legal aid. Well, that means nothing to me.
That
means
they're
nothing
dirty. I mean,
to me.
when someone says that they're in with legal aid of Southern Nevada, I'm like, nope, are automatically axed out, because that whole center is corrupt. They have people who are getting funds, and like the case that you're reading about right now with my friend, non-married woman who's no next friend, next kin, anything, legal aid for 7 years. 7 years on a child that's not even hers, who she is never, no surrogacy, no nothing, just because of what Matthew Harder did, what Gail Nathan did in this case. And it's ridiculous. So yeah, legal aid, that really doesn't hold much water, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, talking to families, because when I was at Donna's house, another joke, but talking to a lot of families and a lot of people reaching out to me because of my pages and stuff, you hear a lot of bad things. So just want to put that on the record.
All right, so as a group, who would we recommend? Marilyn Caston, Bill Gonzalez, or Dawn Thorne for Department U Family Division?
I'm going to say Dawn Thorne.
I think Dawn sounded.
I like going Dawn Thorne. I have reservations of.
All right, let me go across the room. Robert Madoff, which one?
I'm going to abstain, but if it was forced on me, I would Dawn Thorne. I would like to know if...
It's a yes or no. Wealthy Silva, which one?
Yeah, he's used to abuse. Right. We all are. No, I shouldn't say that.
Actually, does Dawn Thorne have any extended family background, family work?
You know what? I didn't see that.
Yeah, because I strongly feel, this is probably why Steve wouldn't let me talk, I strongly feel that family court should be a supportive court and not a punitive court, because families are in crisis or in conflict all the time.
Well,
And you know, I would agree, because family court is not criminal court, judges. It's not criminal court. You're not there to air out your criminal stuff. You're there to find out if you're going to be able to get your child or visitation or what have you.
Well, maybe I misunderstood. Gianno, didn't you say that it said he was a family law specialist, though?
It said that she was a family law specialist. Yeah, it did.
Yeah, Dawn Thorne is.
Thorne, yeah, exactly.
That can actually do it, even though all of them do it, even though they don't have the certification for it.
Okay, since we're going around this way. Sorry,
Wealthy, who would you pick?
Dawn.
Steve?
Dawn.
Kia? Skip you.
So that was gonna be that was gonna be my second. Would have been Thorne. My first was Gonzalez.
Thorne, because Gonzalez used to associate, or did, with Bobby G., who's one of the biggest corrupt constables who never got caught. So Gonzalez, no way.
Even bigger than Earl Mitchell?
You mean Earl the Pearl?
All right,
And John
Not
Benaventura?
as stupid as Bonaventura, yes.
Okay, I know you're the president, but the moderator still is in my head.
Who?
Thorne.
All right, so we're gonna recommend Dawn Thorne, Gianno. Dawn Thorne.
Okay. Thank you.
So Dawn Thorne, we're recommending you for Department U. So moving right along, and then we're gonna come back to Robert Madoff. Moving right along to District Court Judge, Family Division, Department V, we have Craig G. Brook, Jack Fleeman. Is it Fleeman?
It's Jack Wesley
Fleeman.
Craig G. Bork, and Margaret Pickard.
And Margaret, hold on, let me get to that page. And Margaret Pickard. Now here's the thing. Craig Bork and Jack Fleeman, those names don't ring a bell to me. But Margaret Pickard's name rings a bell. And Margaret Pickard, she is a hearing master in family court right now. Her husband is Keith Pickard, who is the state senator. And I remember going to Margaret Pickard's Judicial Selection Committee hearing when she was trying to get appointed to one of the district court judges' position in family court. And they had to take a recess. The reason why they took a recess is because for the information that I found out, Margaret Pickard is under investigation for some type of, she's a partner in some type of porn,
That's right.
porn film industry.
Porn revenge film.
Porn revenge film. So you guys need to know, you guys, I don't even understand why Margaret Pickard is still a hearing master because of that investigation going on. But with that, Gianno, Department V is yours. So let's hear what you got to say.
All right, thanks, Steve. So, Department V, Margaret Pickard, the site that she was involved with and which she owned a part of, I believe, was called truth.com or CHEVALIER.com.
This is the truth.
Yeah.
Folks, we can't make this up.
So basically what I had, kind of a lot of the same things that you're saying. She owned a porn site to blackmail people and receive a fee to delete negative info.
She's still working.
Another thing is she was awarded the Peacemaker of the Year in 2011 by the mediators of Southern Nevada. So we don't know how the hell that happened.
What she called out with the porn. If she's calling out the bad people in the porn, I can see where she's coming from.
No, definitely. But the only problem being is if you're blackmailing somebody,
Exactly.
with Cheaterville.com, I want to say anybody was able to get on there. You know, if your boyfriend or your girlfriend cheated, you're able to get on there and post negative things about them.
Right.
And then they have to get on there. They have to pay basically to have that
it removed.
Yeah,
So,
so-
yeah, that's kind of dirtbaggy, but the people did a dirtbaggy thing. But
Too wrong.
Well, yeah, but how do you know?
Dirt
I mean,
baggy. I like that.
Two
Yeah.
wrongs don't make it right.
yeah, that's true.
But I mean, what if somebody was heartbroken, you know, and they were just making up things? Then what? you know.
Yeah,
So I
that's
mean, it's
true.
still blackmail is
I
blackmail.
mean, I think I'm like, it's not
All
kids that she's
right,
screwing
only in
with.
Las Vegas.
What else you got, Gianna?
Probably fit right in with the rest of them, though.
Right.
So we got Chris Burke. I wasn't able to find a lot about him. I seen he's helped over. He said he's helped over 1,000 litigants in family courts. Yeah. So
And you found nothing on him. 1,000 litigants. That's a lot.
Yeah, I know.
Somebody's got to at least put some negative stuff or some positive stuff.
Yeah,
out
maybe
there.
I wasn't looking in the right spot. But I guess, you know, I heard somebody say that they looked up on Yelp, and I never looked on Yelp. But they said he received his bachelor in criminal justice in 1999. So I guess he's been practicing for about 20 years. And then we have Jack Fleeman. That's another one I wasn't able to find too much about, so I can't really talk too much about him. He went to the Boyd School of Law, got his bachelor's in political science in 1999 with university honors. Let's see, he went to UNLV, I think I already said. Throughout his career, I found this, Jack has maintained high professional ethical standards. These standards led to him being selected to serve on the State Bar of Nevada's Attorney Discipline Committee, which we see, you know, we don't really get too much help from them.
Right.
As well as the State Bar's Fee Dispute Committee. More recently, Jack was appointed by the State Bar's Family Law Executive Council to serve on the Nevada Supreme Court's committee to study child custody reform in our state. So that's all I got on him.
Gianna, one question. Is this a new department?
This is
Pick
a
up the
new
mic.
department.
Okay.
Yeah.
New department.
Okay.
So anybody have any input for Department V?
I mean, I would think, I don't know anything about any of those candidates, honestly.
Grab a mic.
It's odd that they don't ever put anything out there. Like, that's so bizarre to me. But one thing I do know about the Judicial Commission is that, like, Thomas Bradley, he goes after a lot of these judges. He really does. He's working on federal indictments on them. When you read his papers and his pleadings, so he's really disgusted with the court system here
Right.
in Las Vegas. He's disgusted with it. So if someone is serving on that board under him, since he's the prosecutor for that, that would be a positive for that guy. That would be the only thing I would say, because I really don't know anything about him.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Because he.
So Gian, oh, you got something, Frank?
So we can just all agree, not the blackmail porn lady.
Yeah.
Hold on. I was actually going to recommend Pickard. No, I'm just kidding.
So Gianna, Department, anybody else got anything for Department V? So with Department V, who would we recommend? Craig Burke, Jack Fleeman, or Margaret Porn Pickard?
I think I would go with, I'm not sure I'm going to.
I would go with the guy with the Judicial Commission. I would go with Pickard if she would take that and she used that against the dirty judges.
Yeah, the only problem with the judicial,
But she doesn't.
So you want her to blackmail judges?
Yeah, they're dirty. Get them off the bench. Why not?
yeah, but think about it. With the judicial commission, they don't do anything. So I mean, I definitely wouldn't be going with that candidate.
Well, but I don't know, because that's how she got her case with Raina.
Well, then maybe it depends on what judge it is.
They
You know.
don't do enough.
They've done something, but they haven't done enough.
They
Pick up a mic, Wealthy.
But you know what, though? But the Supreme Court has their hands tied too, because they've wanted a lot of those benches off, like a lot of the judges off the bench. And when you read their pleadings and their motions, you can see that. But their hands are tied by the Supreme Court. So.
Well, they say they're on the funded. I remember when they went after Steve Jones, who was a family court judge.
Mm-hmm.
They said that took up their entire annual budget just to go after that one judge. So.
Right.
Either one or two things is going to happen. Either they need to abolish the Judicial Discipline Commission, because I don't think they're really doing a good job in going after all these judges, or they need to fund them a little bit more.
That's what I think.
Or and I know definitely they lack transparency. That's for sure.
Right.
Well, they
I
couldn't
think that they should fund them.
they certainly shouldn't abolish it if, unless they abolish family court, and that would be all right. But if they're going to have family court, we have to have some redress, and that comes with judicial discipline. So.
Well, I think the redress probably would be that we'd be able to recall them, but since we can't recall them because the Supreme Court passed down this rule saying you can't recall judges, but there has to be another way to remove judges off the bench besides the Nevada Judicial Discipline Commission. That judicial immunity, I don't think they should have. Well, in some respect, yes. In some respect, no. But I think that if a family court judge deliberately choose not to follow the law, I think that they should be criminal charges.
Clear violation of civil rights, and they still have immunity. That's not okay.
But maybe that's what we're here for, Steve, is maybe we're that next step in between getting to the Supreme Court and wasting all their time and money, our litigants and the things we find. Well, now they don't have to use all that time on attorneys for discovery. We gave you the discovery.
Right.
Yeah, I think that there should be a public.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Just commenting on the Judicial Discipline Commission, I think something's better than nothing. And we used to say that you don't want to put the mark of Cain on somebody or make false allegations, but they said that, sunlight is the best disinfectant, so you got to bring it out. I spent a lot of time yesterday and today looking at the question was, I don't like the word change because I don't like Obama. I'm sorry. It's improvement. It's either improvement or you're getting worse or you're keeping the status quo. So when I looked at this stuff, there are ways to get judicial officers or public officers out of office. I won't go into details, but I'll just give a few. There's perjury. There's subordination of perjury, which means if the judge knows that the plaintiff or defendant or litigant is lying, they can be charged. Thirdly, there's misfeasance, malfeasance, and nonfeasance. You can look it up on the internet. There's ways to do it. And all I've ever said to Steve is, I think I wrote a letter supporting Steve a couple months ago, and I said, I have one little theory. I have thousands of quotes. I have one little theory. No matter what, people don't do things out of the goodness of their heart. They do things out of pressure properly applied.
That's right.
And the pressure, we have to keep on the pressure, the publicity, the exposés, whatever. Because, I was kind of afraid tonight was just going to be belly barking and belly bitching, but it's not. Because we can, if you believe it, you can make a difference.
Okay, so a follow-up on what everybody's been saying. One thing with me, okay, with Matthew Harder and the judicial discipline, basically, no matter what he's did, okay, he basically took a drug addict that came back after 4 years of abandoning our child.
Matthew's not on the ballot either.
No, he's not. But I just got a few things to say. So, and it has to do with the judicial discipline also. But I mean, anybody that's so biased and so corrupt and says, hey, hold on, ma'am, how much do you make? And remember, this woman, which is my kid's mother, never asked for an attorney. And we all know here, you do not get free attorneys in family court, okay? So anybody that would say, hold on, ma'am, how much do you make? And she states, I make $2,000 a month. Okay, I'm going to find you indigent and I'm going to give you a free attorney is corrupt and biased.
But was the case dealing with
terminate? It was dealing with termination.
When you deal with termination, they actually are supposed to appoint you counsel.
Okay.
You can't afford it.
Okay.
Just
right.
in termination, that's it though.
Now, are they supposed to appoint the person that is getting their rights terminated, or that they're trying to terminate the person's rights, or the litigant that's trying to terminate someone's rights?
The person who is, the parent who is having the rights terminated, if they can't afford counsel, because it does deal with parental termination, the court is supposed to appoint you an attorney. That's the only time they have to do it. In most states, they have to do relocation and termination, but here in Las Vegas, it's in Nevada, it's just termination. They can't,
So,
you can't argue that by yourself, so they have to appoint you counsel.
Okay. That's great you said it. So anyways, I was going up for termination. They were trying to terminate my rights for zero reasons at all. And what they did is they gave her a free attorney, okay?
As being the moderator, I have to stop you because you got Department V, and I just kept looking, and I just can't find Matthew Harder's name on there.
I know, I'll get carried away.
But do you know what, no, but he's bad. I I mean, like, you seen what my friend sent you. He.
Yeah, no, definitely. One last thing, okay?
He gave the wrong person the attorney.
No, he gave the wrong person the attorney. So how does that work? But then to screw me a little more, he says, you know what? Your daughter's 10 years old. She's old enough to know or to choose who she wants to live with. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, all right, that's all I got there.
So
Matthew Harder's terrible for people out there. Don't. If you get in front of him, I'm telling you, preemptory challenge. Criminal.
Okay, so Department V, Craig Burke, Jack Fleeman, and Margaret Pickard. Who would we recommend?
I'm going to stay out of this one.
Who would we recommend?
I'm going to say the man who was on the commission.
Craig Burke?
Yeah, the Burke guy.
Burke, is that correct? Yeah.
Was it Burke? I thought it was
Or is it
Fleeman. I think it was Fleeman.
Which one?
Yeah, I think it was Fleeman. Is he the guy with the dark hair right there in that picture?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
Fleeman.
then it's going to be Fleeman because I remember when you turned it over.
Yeah.
So Jack Fleeman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we recommend, you guys something?
No.
Oh, we recommended Jack Fleeman for Department V. So why don't we go back to Department T, and Robert Madoff, could you give us information on these three candidates? I know I gave a little background.
Yes, you did. Excellent.
And I didn't even have those candidates.
Well, to begin with, and just when I've been just doing some research, this is actually quite funny. Jason Stuffel was actually ran in 2014 against Judge Ochoa, and they got into a barroom brawl. Did anybody know that?
Oh, yeah, I did know that.
Like an actual fisticuffs.
At fisticuffs, yeah, in 2014. So as far as Jason is concerned, I can't see myself supporting him. Now the with the other lady, Gemma Nazarino, she actually is from California. She didn't keep her license. She got her license in 2000, and it was inactive in 2008 when she moved here. She's been a public attorney and a managing partner of Nazarena and another attorney. It doesn't seem to appear to me that she has any family court background. So right away, to me, I wouldn't even suggest her.
Well, the fact that she didn't even show up for the hearing, she didn't even show up for the review journal,
Yeah.
and then she didn't even bother to reinstate her license.
Yeah,
I mean, you just
that's
gotta pay the
exactly it.
fee.
That's exactly what happened. So
Maybe she had other things in her mind.
that's possible.
You want that person making decisions for you?
Oh, absolutely.
They can't handle their own business.
But so there's only one left is Nadine Cutter. Nadine Cutter.
So we recommended Nadine Cutter for Department T. All right, thank you, Mr. Madoff. So moving right along, we're going to go to Department Y, and we have Jesus.
Department Y?
What's that? What's that name?
Yeah, Department Y.
What's the name?
what's
Just give me the
It's,
name. You can't see it either, and you got glasses
no,
on.
I can see it. Is that the first middle?
I'm like, wow, was
Just
it?
go with the comma after that. What's her name? What?
Andar Raid?
No, that's the last name. What's the first name? Right here.
Salvador?
What's that name?
Salvador Maricar Andarde?
Yeah, that. Okay, that's it. And then we have Stephanie Charter and Carrie
Carrie-Ann Molnar.
So, Wealthy, that's your race. Oh.
Okay, so first of all, with Carrie-Ann Molnar, I believe she will be just as bad, if not worse, than Rena Hughes. So straight away, I have personal experience. I went to her when I was looking for an attorney. I believe through I don't know, some attorney website or something. I found her. Now I go, okay, I'll try this one. And this was right after my daughter had been kidnapped. So she pulls up my case. She was really rude to start with. You know, I had never met this woman. She didn't know me. I waited for like 20 minutes or something in her lobby waiting to see her, and then walked in, and she was kind of just put off that I was there. And she pulls up my case, and she reads a little bit of it. It doesn't even say that much. I mean, you know what you can find on, and the case had been sealed, so she really couldn't find much. And she goes, "You kept your daughter from him." And that was like the first thing she said. And I'm like, "Well, no, I didn't, but okay." Like, she was just so rude and obnoxious. And I was like, should I just get up and leave? Like, I'm here to get an attorney. Like, I'm a future client or possible client, right? And so I started to explain a little bit about my case and, you know, what was going on. And she was just hearing none of it. She was like biased before I even like opened my mouth, biased against me. So I was like, well, I guess she's just a woman hater or something. And I talked to her for a little bit because I was like, let's see what is going on with this crazy woman, right? And I said, okay, but my daughter is 12 years old at the time. She was 12 years old. Are you saying that you don't think a 12-year-old should have a voice? And she goes, no, I don't. You should just make her go. Children don't have voices in family court. And I was just like, oh my goodness, this woman she is crazed. And if you care about your children, you do not want this woman on the bench. So, and then I went home and I looked online and was like, am I crazy? Or, you know, have other people had this experience? And you can look her up. All the reviews, well, not all of them, but like 9 out of 10 are the same thing, the same kind of experience that I had with her. So obviously she's not,
probably in with a lot of the judges
a good
too.
Choice. Molnar, yeah, Carrie Molnar, yeah. And sorry, let me get a sip of water.
We're just waiting on you.
Yeah.
So definitely don't want Carrie Ann in there.
No. So definitely not her. And then I actually sent Stephanie Charter and the other one to Maricar, Maricar, however you say it. I sent them emails to see, you know, ask a couple questions. And I'm just going to read you guys the email that I sent. Give me a second. Sorry. Okay, so this is the email that I sent to both of the others, Stephanie Charter and Maricar. I didn't bother with Molnar, obviously.
Right.
Good morning. I understand you're running for a judge in family court. I would like to support you. I think you have a better background and actually care about children, not the child's best interest. I am very much against your opponent, Carrie Molnar. She will be as horrible as Rena Hughes. I just wanted to ask a few questions, if you don't mind. Do you know Barry Goldstein, the child advocate? Do you know about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and how they affect lifetime health? Will you give children a badly needed voice in family court, and how? Do you believe in parental alienation syndrome? Thank you so much for your time. If you would like to discuss anything further, and I left my phone number and stuff. So Stephanie Charter, she actually did respond. Maricar never bothered to respond, and I couldn't find anything on Maricar either, like, you know, looking for reviews and stuff. I think she's an attorney. I believe it was her and her husband have a law firm, but I couldn't find anything really good or bad about her. Stephanie Charter's response was, Dear Ms. Silva, thank you for reaching out to me. I appreciate your interest in supporting me as a candidate for one of the new judicial seats department-wide. To learn more about me, she gave me her website. You can go to that website or to my judicial Facebook page, Stephanie Charter for Family Court Judge. As one of the first children's attorneys in Clark County over 20 years ago with legal aid, I have a real understanding of the impact of childhood trauma. Also, my family and I brought home our middle child from an orphanage in India. Through our daughter and understanding some of her experience there, I have firsthand knowledge of what children who have experienced trauma go through. In my role as a children's attorney, I advocated for dozens of children involved in the abuse and neglect system. and let the court and other decision makers know the child's own thoughts and desires about the critical decisions being made about their lives. I would bring this unique background and knowledge to the bench. Again, thank you for reaching out to me. I invite you to view, like, and share my posts on my campaign Facebook page. So I was impressed with Stephanie Charter. I mean, she didn't exactly XYZ answer my questions, but for the most part she did. And I think, you can get a good feel of what she really is.
Well, the fact that she
passionate about children.
responded too. I mean, she took the time to respond.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
because you didn't say you were with an organization or a group.
I didn't.
You said that you were by yourself.
I'm just a voter.
Right.
Just one voter. So.
Right, and that speaks to her character.
I think so too. Yep. I'm done.
I'd just like to make a comment.
I'm a little bit scared to give it the mic.
No, don't be afraid. I won't bite back. As lucky as I was, because I used to read the paper every day, but I did grab yesterday's paper, and department-wise on the top page, yesterday's Sunday paper page, I can't see that, Steve. I should. 8B, B-boy. It says the top article. There's actually 3 sections. I'm sorry, Doc. There was a Department T. I should have given it to you. Forgot. But it says all-woman field and race for family court spot. Now, I personally know Victor Jakes. He's quite a character. He was the panel moderator when the RJ did the judicial debate recently. Doesn't have the date for that. All I'll comment is I agree with you completely. Stephanie Charter's the best candidate. I don't know anything about Molnar. She just kind of spews the old, generalization triple, whatever you want to call it. And it's something that I'm just trying to make a decision here, but you said Miss Wonderful Andre didn't respond. Guess what? She didn't show up for the debate either.
Wow.
So, she looks highly intelligent, but, looks are deceiving. So I do agree with your assessment of Miss Charter, and most of the stuff is just their drivel and what they're talking about. Get to the specifics, but I think she'll be the best candidate.
That's good. I'm glad you found that. I didn't find that. So. Yeah, no, that's good. That's cool.
Okay, so Department Y, Stephanie Charter, Carrie, what's her name?
Molnar.
Mulder, and
He called her like the X-Files.
Marcia. What was that? What was that first one? Right?
Oh, Maricar.
Maricar. What's her last name? Andre. So who would we recommend for Department Y?
Stephanie Charter.
Stephanie Charter. Okay.
Stephanie Charter.
Stephanie Charter is recommended for Department Y. So moving right along, last but not least, Department Z, which is the last letter of the alphabet. We have Randall Foreman.
He's a pussy. I'm just putting that on the record.
Okay.
Put him there. Nope.
We have Shell Mercer. We have Romeo Perez and Kevin Speed. Now I could talk about Michelle Shell Mercer. Michelle Shell Mercer, we have endorsed her in prior elections for family court. Nice person. Kind of disappointed that she didn't show up for the endorsement interviews. And by the way, folks, when we did the judicial endorsement interviews, there was no COVID-19, just to let you know. There was no COVID-19. There was a NCW. That's what they were, and that's what everybody's scared of. Yeah, with $9,000 in the bank. All came from mommy and daddy. And then we have Romeo Perez, and Romeo has ran before. Matter of fact, I showed up at a couple of Romeo Perez's fundraiser when he ran last time. And Kevin Speed, I showed up twice to watch Kevin Speed do his testimony in front of the Judicial Selection Committee because he wanted to get an appointment. I really have nothing bad to say about any of those candidates in Department Z, nor do I have anything good to say about them. So I know a lot of them are standoffish, and a lot of them try to smooth their way, trying to be political, but some people could read right through that. But with that, Jim Jonas had Department Z. Jim?
All right. So I'm glad that somebody spoke up about Randall Foreman, because I really didn't find much other than he's been practicing for 7 years and he has no reviews. I've met him.
He's been practicing for how many years?
It says 7.
Well,
Do you want
gotta,
his background?
hold on. You got to be 10 years to practice to run for district court judge. So if he's only practiced for 7, he can't run. Did somebody bring that up?
No.
Yeah.
So
he can't
anyway,
run if it's
go
7.
ahead. Go ahead with what you wanted to add.
So pretty much, he is the attorney for the family court, and so you see him.
What does that mean?
So he pretty
Like
much.
the Godfather?
So he will represent them. So when you have disqualifications or anything like that, that's who you go and you speak to, and you would turn your paperwork into him. Or if you have problems, you could speak to him because he's actually an attorney, and he represents, represents the court down there. That being said, he's pushover, and he is, like I said, a pussy. He is of no help. I brought so many things to him with what Raina was doing, and what he told me was to send her up on a writ of prohibition. He said, then send her up on prohibition. But he would do nothing. He's kind of there to act and step as an in-between, the go-between man. Yeah, pretty much. And he doesn't do that. So my thing is that if you're not even capable of doing those things when you're not a judge, what are you going to do that's so spectacular when you are one? Because he's just one of those people where he's just kind of, just kind of,
Right.
I'll just tell you something to make you happy. And even though I know it's wrong, he wants to pacify you, but he's not going to do the right thing because he doesn't have the balls to do it. My personal opinion.
Okay.
I just want to respond to that. I actually know Mr. Foreman. He's an administrative assistant down at the family court, and he's in a very tough position. He's got about 15, 16 judges pulling him every different way. And I can tell you through personal experience, through emails that I've had with him, he does do the work. And, he basically, for myself and at least 8 other litigants that I sent over to him, he did indeed help them. So I just wanted to let you know that.
No, you know what? Here's the thing. I think that every time I was there with him, he was always busy. He was always doing something. Yes. He never, ever, and it was with Raina Hughes, so I don't know if she had his balls in a vice grip. I don't know.
That's possible.
But, because he probably had a hard time with her.
That might have hurt.
But with in regards to her and me, never was of any help. And I mean, half the time he wouldn't even return my phone calls.
Okay. But I in all fairness, and I'm not defending him in any way, shape, or form, through our experience with him, he followed through on each and every one of his commitments.
Right.
And that's highly unusual for somebody that's actually running for a family court judge. Because you go down that list and they're basically all full of shit.
They are. And here's the thing. I will tell you this. I've heard there are other people. I have friends who love Randall Foreman. I didn't have a good experience with him, and it just because with the way he handled things, it was very off-putting to me. And not just because of his not helping me, but just I don't know. It was kind of like this nonchalant, like, what do you want me to do? But I mean, he did say send her up on a writ of prohibition about Raina. So, and he does have a lot of work because every time I was there, because I went to disqualify her so many times, he was always super busy. So. Well,
this is the first time we got to the discussion without the person that has these candidates go through the list.
No, that's fine. No,
that's good input.
No, yeah, no, that's
and
good
plus,
input.
you guys were on 2 different sides of this guy. So.
Yeah. So, Kevin Speed.
You're going to go backwards?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kevin Speed. I didn't really find a ton on him. I do know that he tried to be appointed twice. That's basically all I found out on him. I do know Romeo Perez fairly well. I do know that he's ran before. I know Michelle. It's not that I don't like Michelle Mercer as a person, but one of the reasons why I talked earlier is she's been a pro tem hearing master since 2009. to present, so 11 years. I just honestly, at this point, like, I just really think it's time to clean house. On a lot of these people that have been around a long time. She might be a good person, means well, but 11 years is a long time to do something, and nothing has changed.
Right.
I remember a specific person going up to the Nevada legislature and speaking to a room full of specific political party, their leadership. I'm not going to say who that person was or what political party it was, and said it's time for a purging, and it starts with this room right here. And so I honestly, like, as much as I've never had a personal problem with Michelle, I think I just wouldn't go that way. I know that Romeo.
This person said purging?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I know that Romeo is kind of a quintessential candidate. I know he was run before, but if you look at his statistics, 72%. He has a 5-star rating with 72% of people that were polled. 22% 1-star. There's very little in between. But the one thing I did like about him is for the 70% of family court cases that he has handled, he's split exactly right down the middle. So 35% of all the cases that he's been a part of has been divorce or separation, or the other 35% has just been basically just family matters. So he's not one of those that's going to chase after just separation cases or just purely divorce cases. So I like that he's balanced. So I mean, my recommendation would be Romeo Perez. But
You didn't talk about that Randall Foreman.
Well, they already gave their input. I didn't find much. One person didn't have a real good opinion of him, didn't have good dealings. I know Dr. Madoff said that he does the work. You know, that could be the case too. I mean, sometimes
He does the work. He just seems he strikes me as a puppet.
right. You know, and sometimes it's kind of a tough position sometimes, because it's just like with public defenders, right? Everybody just assumes that public defenders are dumb and don't understand the law. That actually, there's very, very talented public defenders out there, but they're just swamped and overwhelmed. So the only thing they can do is do the bare minimum
And take a plea deal.
And take a plea deal and get out. So, I mean, personally, I like Romeo Perez, but it's kind of up to you guys. That was the information I found. I definitely, honestly, though, would definitely say no for Michelle Mercer.
Anybody else have any input for Department Z? No? So who would we recommend for Department Z? Randall Foreman, Michelle Shell Mercer, Romeo Perez, or Kevin Speed?
I'll second Romeo.
Romeo?
I think Romeo.
Romeo? And plus, it sounds a little romantic, you know, Romeo. And Juliet. So Romeo Perez, we recommended you for Department Z. And before I just go down the list and with the recommendations and the one endorsement that we already had, let's hear from Nakia Bonds, because she's supposed to be letting us know about the laws and the appellate and the Supreme Court and all that good stuff.
Well, I'll give you some information because there's so much to look into.
Yeah, hurry up, I gotta pee.
So I would recommend that anybody really look at the rules of the court, because at the end of the day, right now, there's still a lot of dirty judges that are on the bench, and they're dirty and they're corrupt, and it's like, you know, one hand feeds the other, and it's just, that's the way it is. And it's that good old boy system, which is kind of dirty and disgusting, but that's what we have. But I feel like if you do go into family court and you know what you're dealing with, and you actually know the rules, and you know what your rights are more so than anything, constitutional and, you know, due process as well, because due process is at the state level and constitutional is obviously at the federal level. And we follow we have to follow federal guidelines and rules. Had I known, in my case, what I know now, it would have been Probably wouldn't have been that much different because Raina Hughes is a bitch, excuse my French, she is. But the woman's corrupt and dirty. But knowing now, there's things that I would have done a lot differently. There's something called the Judge's Bench Book that I just happened to find a couple days ago. And it's a really, really good resource. It has everything in there. It talks about, pretty much it has case law from any kind of case you can imagine and how a judge is supposed to act. So Case Text, that's a good site to use for a lot of things. But just do your research is what I would say. And you really need to know your rules, because if you don't, you really put yourself at a disadvantage. Because if you operate as a proper person litigant, and even if you have an attorney, because you don't know if your attorney's any good or if they're really going to do the work for you, because I believe that nobody is going to fight for you harder than yourself, because you know the ins and outs of your case, and you should be able to do that. And judges are supposed to help you. You know, at one point I told Raina Hughes, I said, listen, I don't know what you're talking about. It's your job to, inform me and let me know. So therefore, because you can ask those questions. But a lot of people, they don't know that. There's no handbook on what you need to do. So I would just say take it and make it your responsibility and your duty to really know the ins and outs of your cases and know the laws and the rules.
Hey, can you really quickly, you brought up something earlier tonight in the discussion that I think is very important. Can you let the viewers and listeners know, you had talked about, like, if you do your research about a judge, you know who your judge is going to be in your case, and you do your research. What was that you were talking about?
It's the preemptory challenge, and it costs $450, but it's worth it because you will spend way more money being drugged through court. And if you don't have an attorney, you're screwed for the most part, because that's the way they treat proper person litigants. And it's different at the Supreme Court level because you have they give proper person litigants a lot more leniency and leeway because you don't have counsel. So the Supreme Court, they operate the way they should, and they're actually pretty fair when it comes to proper person litigants. But in the district court, do your research on your judge, and before you file anything in, so before you answer your answer and counterclaim or cross-claim, whatever, you definitely want to see who you're dealing with. And if you don't like what you see, I would suggest doing the preemptory challenge.
Anybody got any final words they want to say? Frank?
Actually, as somebody who won their case as a pro se litigant, a couple of things, like she said, go in there and know what you're doing. Have things pre-written down ahead of time. And by all means, take your emotions out of it. It's an emotional thing. But if you take your emotions out of it when you're speaking to the judge, and you know what you're going in there for, and you know how to, dictate what you're trying to say, it's going to come across that you're putting not only this case but this child before yourself, and it's going to look good to the judge. And secondly, a lot of you guys spoke about domestic violence as something the judges try to throw this way or that way or this way or that way. About 40% of all domestic violence cases are against men. And a lot of things that people don't know, I've taken the Metro Domestic Violence class. I'm certified in it. Your spouse checking your receipt, your text messages, your mileage, or withholding intimacy from you for long periods of time is all domestic violence. It's not just the physical abuse or some of the verbal stuff. It's the other things. If you find yourself in those situations, get the hell out, because staying there for the kid ain't helping the kid.
Jano?
Yeah, one thing I would like to say is it's one thing to go in there and, know the laws, and it's another thing to have, corrupt judges and, basically if they don't like you, they're going to make sure you lose. But what happens is that the children have to suffer, and remember, right? They're children now. But what happens when they get older, when they don't have the other parent, right? So that's why I think that a lot of times, we need to have jury trials. I think especially, like Steve says, a lot of times for termination of rights. Right. So yeah, I don't think of course you do want to know the laws and stuff like that, but a lot of times it don't matter.
Like with somebody like Harder or somebody like Raina Hughes, it doesn't matter. If they don't like you, they don't like you. That's right. It doesn't matter. So with those certain judges, you're right. It doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's go back that way. Nakia, do you have any final words?
So again, I'll just state for the record, there are just some judges that are really bad, and it doesn't matter what you do. It's already predestined that you're not going to win. They're going to do everything they can to knock you down at every turn. And, when
Like
that's...
calling you a vexatious litigant.
Yeah, by vexatious litigants and that kind of thing. I mean, the first time I was on the bench, I was bamboozled. I didn't even know. And here I was served right outside in the hallway, and he had a case going for 7 months. Had never jurisdicted. I didn't even have jurisdiction here at the time, and so it should have never even proceeded, because that's another thing. Check jurisdiction, because if these judges do not have jurisdiction, they cannot act. They have to dismiss the case. So until you answer and that cross complaint or whatever, they don't have jurisdiction of you. You submit to that as soon as you put that answer in. So that's another thing that people should really, really think about. Know the jurisdiction, because federal and our NRAP rules are very, very clear. When a judge does not have jurisdiction, they have to dismiss. They have to dismiss it. And so, that helps before you are actually in a case. But being in it with somebody like Harder or Ochoa or even Hughes, the only thing that's going to help you there is getting those people off the bench.
Okay. Nakia? Steve? Wealthy?
One last thing, Steve.
You're done. Wealthy?
One last thing. So talking about Harder, okay? The last thing I want to add.
Take a pillow. Get a toothbrush.
No, so the last thing I want to add is, imagine an attorney, okay? The attorney goes in there, and the attorney's basically saying, hey, listen, there is no reason for us to terminate his rights. Right. And for Judge Harder to say, and basically the attorney's trying to get rid of the case, and Judge Harder says, oh, hold on, wait. I'm sure you could find something else. So he basically took away my rights to see my child. Then he was like, what about abandonment? So.
Yeah, he said he was God in his courtroom. He said that he is God.
And he acts like he's God.
So he's giving legal advice, basically.
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
From the bench.
So, Wealthy, do you have any last words?
No, just pay attention to who you're voting for. That's why we're doing this, to educate the public, and hopefully people will really pay attention to who they're voting for, because it means the difference between a child having a decent life and a really fucked up life.
Dr. Madoff?
Yeah. Thank you very much, Steve. First of all, I want to thank everybody here. We all did a great job. Second of all, with the listeners and the viewers that are going to be watching this currently and in the future, we all know, all the litigants here, we all know that there's thousands and tens of thousands of other litigants that have got screwed over by judges. Listen to me. When we have a protest at family court, you got to show up, because we have to do it in numbers. With Gianni's case or with Wealthy's case, the thing is that we all know what you're going through. This is almost like similar to an AA thing, because we know what you're going through. So litigants, when you see a protest, please come out. And if you do have any questions, call Veterans in Politics at 702-283-8088. And we'll all be there for you, because we're all in this together.
Yepko? Scared to give Yepko the mic.
No, I'll be as quick as I can. Just reiterating what the other panel members have or I should say our forum has mentioned here tonight. It does come down to education. You have to take the bull by the horns. The Self-Help Center, even the Legal Aid Center, the percentages are against the pro se or the improper client. They are going to rule more often than not for the other party who has a lawyer. And I think when we're talking about corruption, remember this. They say these family court judges and other judges truly despise asking for campaign contributions. I mentioned in other panels, I was an FBI agent, and I wondered, why do we hire all these CPAs? Always follow the money, because they won't disclose. And I'll say this, experts, I read somewhere recently, experts don't want to admit that they're wrong. It's hard to do that. But a stopped clock is right twice a day. The other time it's wrong. I would continue to fight, keep your spirits up, reach out for help, lose the pride. You're not weak by asking for help. You're strong. And the only other thing I'll say, to give somebody some reading material, I don't even know why I did this, but 14 years ago, I copied 40 pages off the internet, which was an expose by 2 Times writers out of the LA Times, staff writers, Michael Goodman and William Rempel. I'm sorry. And they did 40 pages on corruption in Las Vegas. Now, it's not particularly family court. It's just an overview of what we've seen and what we're continuing to experience. Because we know the definition of insanity, doing something over and over and expecting different results. So I'm done. Thanks, Jim.
Okay, so Steve will be back in just a second. He had to step out for a minute. When Steve comes back, he'll close up. He'll give a list of everybody we recommended. I'm going to do the same thing that Robert did. I want to thank everybody. I know it's late. Mondays are tough days for everybody. But here's the thing, and I know when we ended our non-judicial endorsement interviews and we went live and we spoke about some stuff, I'm going to say the same thing. Here's the thing. So one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about veterans issues in general is there's so many countries in this world where people supposedly have the right to vote, but it's not a free right. A good friend of mine, he speaks about how voting takes place in his country. So there's a line, they supposedly vote, right? Well, there's military people lined up to the right of them, and they literally walk up to them and they tell them before they go into the voting booth, they say, "You know who you're voting for, right?" And they go, "Yeah." And they specifically tell them who they're going to vote for. So you actually have the freedom to vote for whoever you want. And the reason why you have that freedom is because veterans sacrifice so you can have that freedom. I'm really, really, truly hopeful that everybody enjoyed what we did here tonight. We're going to continue to do things like this going forward. Voting is super important always, but this time it's very important because all the ballots are mail-in. And if anybody understands how easily that system can be corrupted, it's veterans, because so many times veterans, especially abroad, that's how they vote, is by absentee ballots, and it doesn't get counted unless the election's close. So I encourage you to please take what we did seriously here tonight, do your homework in other races, educate yourself, and please make sure you fill the ballot out and mail it in, because it's extremely important. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Steve.
Nikia, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, just real quick.
Oh, great.
Just real fast. For anybody who has stories and they want to tell them because you think that you're alone and there's no one who understands what you're going through, I have a website. It's called demandingjustice.exposed. I was on Facebook, but I kept getting complaints from the court watchers, and so I said, screw it, I'm just going to get my own web domain and page. So that's what I've done. So it's demandingjustice.exposed, and I encourage people with stories to reach out to me so I can post those stories on the page. And anything else that you want to know, and I can also give resources and information that I know. It's just kind of a community thing for people who are proper person or not, who want to know something without being tore down and victimized and bullied and harassed and that kind of thing. So.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to thank everybody for showing up and doing this. I know we don't have to be here. Get it? We don't have to be here. We're just doing it because we believe in this community, and we believe that that we need to put the very best on the bench, especially these district court judges that's going to rule over the bench for the next 6 years, and that's a very long time. So we need to make sure that we put the right person on the bench. I'm going to recap on our recommendations. and put it on our website. And if anybody wants to go and copy our recommendations, you're free to do so. If you want to vote your conscience, or you want to vote different way, or you want to vote because they're friends of yours, I just say be careful what you sow. District Court Judge Department A, we recommend Judge William Voy. District Court Judge for Family Division Department I, we have endorsed YVETTE CHEVALIER Lopez. District Court Judge Department J, Family Division, Scott McDonald. District Court Judge Department M, Family Division, LYNN Hughes. District Court Judge Department P, Family Division, Fred Page. District Court Judge Department S, Family Division, Lisa Sykes. District Court Judge, Family Division Department T, NADIN Cutter. District Court Judge Department U, Family Division, Dawn Thorne. District Court Judge Department V, Jack Fleeman. District Court Judge Department Y, Stephanie Charter. District Court Judge Department Z, Romeo Perez. We've been doing this for almost 3 hours, discussing these family court judges, so you could have a better judicial bench. Please don't go and listen to those other groups. They're not doing anything like this. This is all transparent. They're doing behind the cuffs. They're collecting money. They're collecting favors. They're collecting power. They're collecting all. You know what we're collecting? Not a damn thing. Okay? So who are you gonna believe? Somebody that's doing it behind the cuff, or somebody that's doing it right in front of your face? So with that, I'd like to thank all the listeners and the viewers and everybody that decided to watch this for the Facebook Live. And we're going to have it also on YouTube. We're going to put it on YouTube and all the other social media outlets. So again, thank you all for listening, and thank you guys for coming. And we might do for civil, criminal, appellate, and Supreme Court. Don't know yet. But I know the ballots are being mailed out between this week and next week. Well, with that, thank you guys. Good evening. God bless. Wash your hands. Stay away from crazy people.